A graphics card compared to a modern phone that you upgrade every year, that's apples to apples there, in my opinion.
If I were to get a printer today, what should I get? Looking at this dash, it looks beautiful, man.
But that's what I'm saying. This by far has been the most amazing way of doing it.
This little guy doesn't look like much, but it makes everything sound absolutely amazing.
Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned into another live recorded edition of the Locker Room Digital Review. I am your host, Chris Pirillo, and every week we have a variety of characters, a cast of characters, joining me to geek out about one thing or another. I'll introduce them very briefly. I've got Glendon 3D, we've got Mike Mathia, and we also have, I got that last name right. Yes?
You did.
Man, I nailed it. Unlike, what was it, Applebee's you went to?
Yeah, I went to Applebee's a while back, and I was a party of two for Methuselah.
Now,
the last name is Mathia. I want to know how we got Methuselah out of that. That's pretty interesting.
You know,
that's awesome, though.
It could have been the grease in the air. You know,
it could be the hostess could also be our next president. You never know. So
that's also entirely possible in this country for sure.
Right.
Then we also have Toxic Doom, aka Brad, in another quadrant here. This is the alpha. Wait, hang on. We got the alpha, beta, gamma, delta quadrant tonight. It's like and Mystery Ghost's not here. Oh, no. Mystery Ghost's not here. Oh,
he's busy playing a Star Trek game.
But here's the thing. I don't know if y'all saw it. I posted it in social, but I got a care pack, like a media kit. Care pack. It's not really a care pack. It's a media kit.
Right.
From the Paramount Pictures Mission Impossible. So I got like a briefcase, an IMF thing. It wasn't like the IMF thing was on cardboard. It wasn't like on a plastic, placard, which would have been cool. Right. But yeah, it was a neat little thing. Got a hat, t-shirt, movie, and everything. He'd get a kick out of that. Anyway, so we're going to geek out. Each one of us is going to talk about like something new that happened to us this week, or something we picked up, or something that we found interesting. And then we're also going to deep dive into a topic, whether we're sharing like a top tips list or throwing a topic out there for everybody to kind of talk around and kind of flesh out and get everybody's experiences. And the hope is that in doing this podcast, you'll be entertained and you will be informed as well. So that's the general goal with doing TLDR. Again, thanks again for your support. This is something that typically will happen on the live stream over on Twitch every night. I say typically because for the past couple of weeks, it has been not great for me. This has been a horrible, absolutely rotten, no good year for me. And I'm just beginning to go into a no good right at the beginning of the holidays. Life is starting to suck for me. So I'm not exactly in a great spirit. So if I seem a little down, I haven't been getting a lot of sleep. And I'm also drinking a very good beer. This is a 10%. Look at that. Ooh. 10%.
Wow, that's a big boy.
Yeah,
hitting the hard stuff.
Oh man. It was cheap. I got it on sale. And so it's been that kind of week for me. A 10% week. And this is not for the week, the beer. No. This is the kind of week that I've had.
What he's not telling you is that's his 10th one. He's off.
Dude, for this, you can only handle one. If anybody can handle two of these, you are definitely award worthy because it's strong. It is very strong. I wouldn't say the best flavor, but hey, you know what? It does the trick.
It makes the awarding kick.
After a few drinks, it doesn't matter. Yes.
Exactly. So when I get to the topic I want to talk about, and I seem like I'm two sheets to the wind, is that the phrase?
Sure.
Sheets.
Three sheets.
3 sheets.
I was shy by one sheet. I knew there was sheets in the wind. However many there are, I will be there at some point during this. So this is the reason to stick around. Why should I keep listening to this? That's why.
You'll see.
You don't know what's going to happen when we get together and talk, as we normally do on the live stream over on Twitch. So feel free to join us anytime. I'm going to jump right in with my thing of the week. Actually, I have a couple of things, but this is the first thing.
Easy guy.
So
I had one of those.
It's not a nerf. This is the bug assault. It is a salt. So this works very well. I needed to use it. There was a fly buzzing around, and I got this years ago. It works well with any kind of flying pest, any kind of insect. Spiders, it does an okay job with, enough to kind of knock them around. And kind of like stun them if you're lucky. But you effectively pour salt, just table salt, into the chamber, and then you cock it, turn the safety off, and then it shoots salt in the air. Basically, it grinds. I don't know if it grinds it up, but it basically shoots it at whatever you happen to be aiming. It's got a sight and everything. So it's kind of like a Nerf, but effectively, if you were looking for a way to eliminate flying pests and insects, this by far has been the most amazing way of doing it. It works so well, and it makes it so much easier to deal with and to clean up. Again, it's called the Bug Salt. And
I had one of those. They're great. Yeah.
Why'd you get rid of them?
I ended up overusing it, and it used its usefulness in life.
Really?
Yeah.
How many bugs did you have?
At the old place, it was crazy, but here there's none. Yeah,
Really?
it was really salty attitude there too. Yeah,
Toxic. You had a Bug of Salt as well?
I'm not. I've seen them though, but
okay.
When you shot it, I was actually surprised to
They're
see how much salt came out, because I always thought
it
it was
shoots out.
a gimmicky thing.
No. I mean, you'd think really it does look gimmicky, right? It doesn't look like it's. I mean, it's built like it looks like a cheap toy, right? But it works exceedingly well. And having used like fly swatters,
like Mike.
that's right.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
He said cheap like Mike.
Oh yeah, I was like, I thought you were saying my mic. I hit my mic or my mic was off. Not Mike.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem.
So yeah, this works very, very well. And especially in the summer months when you do have flying pests flying around. Trying to hit a mosquito is going to be impossible, but it works really well for like house flies, and better than a fly swatter that if you mash it, it smashes, or as you come down, the breeze blows the fly away. This is pretty much the fly has no idea what's coming, and then bam. Or even the spider has no idea what's coming, and then bam. Anything that I don't know what it is like cock, bam. That's
right.
That's my motto. Cock, bam.
Okay.
It's a good one to live by.
Yeah, it is.
Is it food from a long distance with it?
It's a 3 foot range.
If you put kosher salt in there, is it more like?
Well,
yes, it acts different.
Fly. After doing that, you could eat the fly because it would then be kosher.
Okay.
It's at about 80 psi, if I remember right.
Dude,
so it's got some kick to it. Yeah,
it's more than I was expecting.
No idea what the specs were. All I know is you aim, you cock, and then bam. That's seriously
cock bam.
Cock bam. Which should totally be on a T-shirt or a hat at some point. That would be. Probably wouldn't translate well. Don't.
Now we have a name for the episode.
No, we
cock
don't.
Bam.
Just YouTube. This is the reason why I'm even careful saying bug salts, because if I say assault and I talk, it is something that shoots salt out. I have to be careful because you can be really crazy about
that makes sense.
No, it shoots salt and it kills household pests. I just got to be very, very careful. But yeah, I had no idea what the specs were. I just know that it works exceedingly well. It's like the Aeropress of insect killing, because the Aeropress, and I didn't plan on really talking about this, is the best way of making coffee at home. Like for a single cup press, forget French presses, forget coffee machines. This little contraption, I think, $30 or $40. Yeah, you finally got one, right?
Yeah, I got one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Totally been worth it.
Love it.
It's once you find the perfect gadget for the job, everything else disappears. And I'm not totally plagued. Apparently, like Toxic or Mike might be with household pests, like the small insect flying, hoppy kind. But when I need it, it is there. Don't even think twice about using it, because it works exceedingly well. But as opposed to other things that I've tried and wasted money on. So that's kind of the Aeropress. It's a single cup press, very easy to use, very easy to clean up. Different kind of recipes for coffee at home, and then it's easy. You can make the coffee as strong or as weak as you want. And I like to chew my coffee, so I make it very strong.
Mine's thick.
But yeah, and once you do the Aeropress, sorry if I hit my mic and it jostled it to the point where you could hear me hitting the mic. Once you use the Aeropress for coffee, it's difficult. Boy, I sound like Christopher Walken all of a sudden, in my head at least.
Like coffee.
Coffee. You don't want to waste your money on a full blown coffee machine. I did it.
You're not gonna walk, baby.
it's once you use a good product for its class, for what it needs to be, even if it doesn't look like the best thing on the planet, it's surprisingly the best thing on the planet, and it saves you so much money in trying to find the thing that absolutely works. That's the whole premise behind Wirecutter, right? Test all these products, get the best of the best.
Right.
I'm not sure if they've had a bug killing, or even a coffee making list out in the past, but those, I don't know how I leapt directly from killing bugs to coffee, but it's that type of device. It's in that type of unassuming type of experience that works when it needs to work, and it works exceedingly well. So that's the thing I was going to showcase this week for everybody. And I thought it'd be a nice product that everybody should have if you have bugs and pests. So it's good that I'm getting accolades from at least a couple of you on the same product. That makes me feel better.
For sure. Yeah.
Not new. It's not new for me, but it may be new for everybody else.
It is readily available on Amazon, I think, right?
Oh, okay, there you go. We may have to put a link in the video description then.
If we could.
Glendon,
Yes.
what do you have for us this week?
Well, it's not here yet, but I have ordered it. I have ordered a second AMS for my Bamboo X1 Carbon.
All right, so let's take a sidestep then.
Yes.
Why do you like the Bamboo 3D printers in general? And then we'll slide into the AMS. Why are you choosing Bamboo? Because you're obviously doubling down. You're buying deeper into their ecosystem. Why Bamboo for you?
Ease of use, probably number one. I don't have to tinker with it like I have every other 3D printer that's out there. If I do, it's not to that extent anyway. Speed and quality and the ability to print in color. It's just a complete package that I really enjoy using. The color aspect is what sold me on it initially.
So when you say color,
on.
Hang on, let's clarify that, because every 3D printer can print in quote unquote color or
multicolor.
Exactly. So it's being able to, and this slides us into AMS. So then what is the AMS system tied to the Bamboo printers? What does it do? Because you already have one. You're talking about getting
one, and I'm bringing in a second one. The
what does the AMS do?
Gives you the ability to print with up to 4 colors at any given time with one AMS. Okay?
In one print. One model.
On one model or multiple models, how many ever you want to put on that print bed at that time. Okay. You can add up to 4 AMS modules to give you 16 colors. For me, that's a little overkill. Okay, a lot of overkill.
Well,
but there are some things.
Say that now.
Yeah, I do say that now. Who knows what it's
that you want
like
8
2 months. But yes, I wanted 8 colors because I have started doing a lot of team logos, sports logos, different things like that, and found the need to have more than 4 colors available to me. I didn't think that I was going to at first, but once I started this little niche of multicolored prints, I found the need to have more options. And I feel 8's the sweet spot for me right now, but we'll see. That's supposed to be here Tuesday.
I'm in the same boat, because I have a few prints that I've already modeled and colored, and they require 5 colors.
Yeah.
So even just having that 5th color is worth it. Not necessarily that you have to have 8, but I agree. The multicolor part it's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I like it. I usually use my AMS, right? I use the multicolored prints for the action figures that I print for the most part, or even the Hugh Forge stuff. In fact, I've got Bib Fortuna is the next one that I've got to slice and get ready to print. That might happen over the weekend. Yeah, I use, that's my primary use case for that Bamboo printer is specifically printing the action figures every week. It's really, I know it's strange.
It's all in you like, whatever you like. And if it brings you pleasure and you enjoy it, who cares?
I do immensely. Like I cannot explain words. I cannot explain how excited I get when I have a new action figure that I don't have to paint. So there's the value of the AMS, the system that Glendon's talking about, specifically connected to the Bamboo printers, because there are other multicolor filament systems, like I think what Prusa has MMU.
Yes,
is that
Prusa
correct?
has an MMU, and then there's a palette out there, and then there's a mosaic.
These are different multicolor systems so that you can print a model, like an object, right, and not have to afterwards paint it. So especially for smaller things like the action figures that I do, they're very, very precise. And there are people out there like Phantom Printer, that's his handle. He will go in and paint the individual pieces because he doesn't have a multicolor system. But like when I prepare a figure to be printed, then I go into the software, which I agree with Glendon on this. It is very user-friendly. It is a very clean experience. And it works exceedingly well. That's the reason why I basically returned, although, God, now that I think about it, I have not received my refund yet for returning my Prusa Mini. I got to check. But I've been waiting because right around Thanksgiving, November 24th or so, I should be getting my A1 Mini on my desk, which does come with an AMS, but I don't know if I'm going to be connecting that AMS directly at, directly to it on the desk because I just don't have a lot of desktop real estate at the. Boy, this is really good beer. Real estate.
I've got a question for you. So I am brand new to the 3D space, right? I am interested in it, and someday I'm going to get one. But me starting now, would you give different advice from when you started? Or, okay, I'll ask it a different way. If I were to get a printer today, what should I get?
The
Let's
A1
start
Mini.
with the basics.
A1
Mini.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
Blended?
a bamboo, right?
Yeah.
That is a
A1
bamboo
Mini.
blended.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, A1 Mini.
Now,
Okay.
toxic.
And I'll tell you before you get to toxic, how much I feel that's going to be a game for adding new go-to entry model printer.
Yeah.
I actually
Really great.
have both of my minis now up for sale.
Prusa
Nice.
Prusa Mini, as opposed to the bamboo A1 Mini. And I at a distance, I understand why. And even though I do not yet have the experience of an A1 Mini, just money. Well, it is kind of
A1 money.
Speaking of money, it is, as Glendon pointed out, affordable. It's like what, $150 cheaper than the Prusa
Yes.
Mini, and a lot more streamlined. Not perfect
No.
in any capacity, right? And this like, oh, it's the beautiful thing, and it works better than everything. No, there are things about the A1 Mini that are not perfect. And I will, when I do get mine, I will end up talking about it on the podcast, certainly, and streaming it on Twitch naturally, as well as on MakerDeck on Twitch. So that's the 24/7 Twitch channel that has people making all the time from all around the world. You should watch it if you're interested in 3D printing and you got questions, much like Mike had. But yeah, it's as far as bang for your buck is concerned, what is it? $300 without the AMS.
$299 without the
Mini.
AMS. Yes.
Even though I don't know if that's for sale directly yet or they're waiting.
Not
right
yet.
now. You have to buy both of them. I understand why.
Right.
So it's that ratchets it up to what, $500 or something like that.
Still not bad.
Or something, but it isn't. It really, if you're going to get started with 3D printing, if you don't have $500 to spend in general, don't get started because you're going to need filament anyway, right? It's not a cheap hobby, but what you get out of it is, you get to enjoy the making process. You get products and things that you can have around the house or to give out as gifts or what have you. So a lot of this is really down to what you might need and what your level of proficiency is. So if you're someone who's more like me and not a hardware guy, I use hardware, yes, but I just want stuff to work. I want to press a button and go. The bamboo ecosystem is catering to that type of audience. These people came out of DJI and their products. So it's got that type of, I'm not going to say look and feel, but that type of, that's the type of approach that they're taking to the marketplace. And up until this point, I'm not so sure there's been anything close to what Bamboo is trying to do, from hardware to software to ecosystem, like stem to stern. So I agree with Glendon. I want to underscore this. I think it's a game changer. I genuinely do.
A1 Mini, no AMS means I can do one color at a time, right? Or I have to manually change the color.
Correct.
Okay.
And you can.
That's a good starting point, I think.
Okay. I would, if you have the space and you have the budget, I would not have any qualms in recommending getting the AMS with the A1 Mini. The thing is, if you don't have the budget, you can get the A1 Mini, and then later you can decide, I think I want to try multicolor printing, because it's not every model is going to take advantage of it.
No.
I mean, for the most part, it just depends on what it is that you might be printing on a regular basis. So, I'm confident in that as well. So what I've got to ask, Glendon, what's pushing you to get the second one? Like, because you're doing well with the 4 colors, but like what is it? Because you're going to be spending more for the AMS for the X1 carbon, which is a kind of the behemoth that Bamboo offers. A lot more expensive, but a lot more powerful in just about every way. Why go with the second one? What is not satisfying you with just one?
Sometimes I do have a lot of smaller prints.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, probably some of it is a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Okay. But what are you missing out on? What
A
what do
fancy
you
new little printer.
Yeah, but no. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the A1 Mini. I'm asking about the second AMS.
The second AMS is because I need the ability to print with more than 4 colors, period. I've got friends and family that I'm making these sports logos for, and a lot of them have more than 4 colors. For instance, like the Chicago Blackhawks. I know you're not a sports guy, Chris, but it's a hockey team.
Sorry.
What's a sports ball?
What is the sports ball you speak of? Anyway, they have 8 colors in their logo if you want to do it correctly. And that's one of the requests that I've had. Like another Minnesota Vikings, they've got 5. It's just not having to worry about or turning someone down or giving them something that's close to correct. I want it to be as close to perfect as it can be. So that's really why I'm wanting to do it.
Is it like 8-bit versus 16-bit? I mean, it kind of is in a way, right? Because you're using more colors, you're using more depth.
I mean, it is. I mean, you could think of it. I mean, it's exactly that, really. You know, from each generation, you went from 8, 16, 32
onward. Yeah.
You just increase the color palette.
When it gets to 256, it's going to start looking crazy in your room, man.
It is.
I'm just saying.
It really is.
You already have all the colors across the top. Look, you have all the colors.
I do have the colors. I have a lot of color. But yeah, that's primarily the reason that I want to do it, is just because the fact that I do have the need now, after starting to print in color, multicolor prints rather, and people seeing that I have the ability, then they want more elaborate projects.
Right. See, I'm glad I'm not opening that Pandora's box. Like, nope.
So you're saying that you've never ran into a point whenever you're printing your play action toys that you've needed more than 4 colors?
There have been some extenuating circumstances where I'm like, it would be great if I had this. Like, for example, Thrawn. One example, this Thrawn, the details are not going to be perfect, but this was done on the Bamboo. Everything was done on the AMS on his torso, except I painted on the red. And I had to paint on the red because I was using blue, silver, yellow, white. And so that fifth one. So, but I knew I could paint on the red and be fine with it.
I wouldn't be fine with it. That's just me.
I had to be fine with it because I don't have the room for a second aim.
You can actually print a stackable shelf system for the AMS to where you can load one on top of each other.
Need to know
print the shelf to use the AMS
enabler. Okay.
2,
yeah, you are.
Honestly, I'm not saying 4 is enough for anybody. It isn't, clearly, but I feel like I can be fine with 4. I really do.
Are we still talking about 3D printers?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Okay. Right.
Very good.
All right. Well, Glenn, and I hope to see that in an upcoming week. You got to show us one of your first beyond 4 color prints that
I will. I will for sure. I've already got it picked out what it's going to be.
Oh, what is it?
It's going to be an Optimus Prime light box.
Ooh.
That's a great reason actually to get a different okay. I feel you now. All right. Okay. Not that you needed my blessing at all, but
it's a sports ball team. I don't expect you to know who it is. But it's the Chicago
That's the
Bears.
Chicago something. Yeah.
It's the Chicago Bears, and it's a light box. You can see now I have been buying LED strips to put inside there.
Do you have a completed one?
Yeah, not with me.
Okay.
But
yeah, you hit the button and it glows, and you put it on a wall or something. That looks pretty cool.
Put it on
that came out of the printer.
Yes.
That's awesome.
nice.
He's going to have 256 colors by the end of 2024.
Well, that's the only limitation, right? You can only have 4 AMS modules.
Or at
Currently,
one
So
yeah.
six-
time, you could have 16 bit colors.
16. Okay,
16
yeah.
color. Yeah.
Yeah, I can still math.
Yeah, I mean, I've
All right.
got a couple multicolors. Like, they're great.
That
I'll have to-
that N64 cube, bro. That is so good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, what do you have for us this week? To something new, something different, something that you just wanted to share, even if it's not new to you.
So I've always said in the past, I have a past with DJing. Okay, so I've DJed a lot in the past. I really like good headphones. I like good microphones, etc. Finally got the setup complete, and what I'm showing off is just simply these headphones. These are the Sony XB800s. They were for $89 on Amazon. Not as good as I wanted them to be, but they are good. What you have to do if you get these headphones is you basically have to EQ them. In other words, they put out an ample amount of bass, but when it comes to mid-range or your vocals or the high-end like snares, it's lacking a little bit. So out of the box, they're a little bit bass heavy, and I mean the model number is XB. You know, that's what that stands for, extra bass. So you have to go in knowing that. But I got that. And then the other thing that's really important when you have headphones is to have a proper digital audio converter or a headphone amp. This is
Is that a DAC?
It's a deck. That's correct. Yeah. This is on a USB extension cord just because this cable for the headphones was a little short for my setup. But this little guy, it doesn't look like much, but it makes everything sound absolutely amazing. So that helps a lot with the headphones like this. So those are my two show-offs, basically.
Huh. Okay. So why did you get them? Like, I'd imagine you're surrounded by a mountain
Right.
of headphones. Why these?
So the best way I could describe it is a DJ with not proper headphones or a guy that's used to studio sound, like myself, is like a NASCAR driver driving like a Ford Focus as a daily driver. You know, I mean, you're getting what you pay for. You're used to a certain sound. You're used to a certain speed in that case. Having these help quite a bit. It sounds so much better now.
But like, what makes that possible? I mean, you can say Sony, and I get it, and I understand Sony, but look, what's the difference between what you might have been using before and what is afforded you in these headphones?
Yeah, I was just using a call center type of headset before. Just that's all I had available at the moment.
Standard.
But what you don't want to do is take a regular nice set of headphones like this and plug it into the back of your Windows computer, for example. Mac makes a really good headphone jack, so to speak, for their computers. It does sound good, but for Windows computers, a lot of times you'll hear a lot of noise and interference along with the sound on the line when you're using the internal sound card. So getting any type of external sound card, whether it's a little stick like this all the way up to what Glendon has. By the way, hat toss to Glendon on this. He's the one that got me into that Monolith brand, and he has the complete opposite end of this little stick. This was $24.99. It's normally $89.99. And so I got a really good deal on it. And the reason I was looking at this brand is because Glendon and I were talking on the stream, like we always do, one night. And I said, I know you're the guy. You're the audio guy. Tell me what you got. And he showed me a link to his really nice Monolith. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to sell a body part to get one of those. So let's not do that. Step it down for me. And turns out all I need is this. But he knows his audio stuff really well. So we just bantered back and forth. I decided to bite the bullet because it's $24. It's super cheap. I'm very, very happy with it. When you EQ these headphones, they're great also. But if you just want something to take out of a box, plug into your iPhone or iPod, pad, whatever, and listen to something, it's not going to sound the way you would like it to, probably. It's not as balanced. It's bass heavy.
I'm not enough of an audiophile. And I'll slide back into this here in a bit because I don't want to interrupt the flow of what we're talking about because I actually want to find out what both Glendon and Toxic are wearing. But I want to come back to this topic. I just leased a new vehicle in a Hyundai ioniq 6. It's funny. I get coffee. Please pardon the diversion here. I get coffee at Starbucks, get it ground. I make it at home with the Aeropress, right? And so people know, okay, he's getting decaf grinded at a 5 for a paper filter. It's good. Well, there's one girl who's there. She knows because I come in there all the time for it. I'm checking out in the grocery line because the Starbucks is at the store. She says, "Was that you in the Hyundai ioniq 6?" I'm like, yes. She's like, oh my God. She's a car girl, right? She just loves cars. I had no idea. It's like, it was funny. And so we're going back and forth because I'm not a car guy. I'm literally the opposite of a car guy. Like, it gets me from point A to point B. It's just that there was a good deal. It was something that I liked for the tech package. I'll come into this again here during the course of the podcast here because I don't want to divert. This is why I'm bringing it up. because she actually saw me in the parking lot like later that week. She's like, oh my God, I got, she asked, what does it sound like? What's the sound? I'm like, it sounds great. Sounds good. I don't know what good sound is. I know what bad sound is.
Right.
I just don't know how to measure. I mean, it sounds fine. It sounds ample. I don't know how to effectively adjust an equalizer such that it's optimized. I don't know if there's a way to do it, right? And a way to like attune it to my ear or what I hear such that I'm getting the bassy, the treble, the midtones, everything across the board. There's nothing, at least, that I think Samsung's got a feature on their phones where you can do it for headphones, adjust it to your hearing style. Mm-hmm. But something like that, even in a car, I think would be rather fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. You could give me your headphones, Mike. I don't know if I could tell you big differences between one or the other.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I understand the value and the importance of it, but I'm not an audiophile. I'm the worst person in the world.
Right. So here's my thing. If you would notice a lack of something, right? Like if you had a hard time hearing vocals right now during this podcast, you would definitely understand that, or a lack of highs, right? That's what you're saying. Because you said you can understand bad noise. That's essentially what you're hearing is the lack of something, right?
I did take a gummy before the show, so I don't think there's a lack of highs around here.
Lack of highs? Jolly Rancher or like a gummy bear? Gummy bear?
Sure, let's go with gummy bear. That's
got it. Awesome. But yeah, that's basically all I had to show off was the headphones and the digital audio converter.
Glendon, what are you rocking there on your
right
ears?
now? These are just a pair of gaming headphones. I say gaming, but they're more than that now. Gaming. It's the SteelSeries Arctis Nova Pro wireless, but they are a set of high-resolution cans, 50-millimeter drivers. The big reason that I'm wearing them now is because they're completely wireless. You can hot swap the batteries on the fly because the dock that it has, not the dock, but the
cradle,
the DAC over here.
Oh yeah,
that has the wireless transmitter built into it. Has a hot swap socket for batteries, so it constantly has a battery charged where you can change it out on the fly. That's a big convenience factor. What I listen to music and normally play my games on, that's something completely different. Those are Focal is the company, and the headset itself is an Elex, E-L-E-X. It's not cheap.
It costs as much as your Ioniq, Chris.
Oh,
it's not that much.
Wow.
Just kidding. No.
Wow.
It's up there, though.
Just a smaller
It's up there,
version of it.
It's a really small version.
They aren't cheap, but what you get what you pay for. I'm an audiophile. I can tell differences. I can sense nuances in the way that the music sounds. I'm the kind of person that doesn't want to have to mess with an EQ. I like to listen to the music the way that it was intended to be heard.
Right.
So therefore, I want a pair of speakers or headphones that can do that. So not every pair can. You'll be able to listen to it just fine, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be hitting those frequencies that it was recorded at and that the musician meant it to be heard. So that's what I'm using as far as headphones go. And as far as DAC, a digital analog converter, is the SU8. It's very good. It's ample. It's not extremely expensive. It's on the lower end, but it's a great unit.
Clinton, who makes that SU8? Is that Monolith, or is it something else?
No, it's not Monolith. It's the I just went blank, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, no. Okay, actually, okay. If you can't find it, you can look, and I'll toss it to Toxic. Toxic, what are you wearing?
These are actually pretty old at this point, but these are Sony MDR XB700s. I was actually on stream last night, and I put new padding on them, new foam. But these are I think I bought them about 11 years ago. I don't have any amplifiers or anything yet. They really need it, but they sound great. They're super comfortable, and they're over the ear, which is what I prefer.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I do prefer over the ear. I don't like sticking things in my ear. I have a general aversion to that. I had ear problems growing up. To that point, my earbs will get sore if I stick something like an earbud in my ear no matter what it is.
Right.
It inevitably, within maybe an hour or less, I'm like, ow, oh God, I can't wear these. That's why right now I've got, these are JLab Sports. They sent these to me maybe a couple of years ago, and I don't wear them as much as I probably should, but they clamp down on, let's say, sunglasses or, on the on regular glasses, and that way I can have them on without actually having them in my ear, or without having to wear cans, if you will.
Right.
The old word, right? Where they look like genuine cans on your head is not perfect. It's definitely treble heavy. You don't get a lot of bass from it, if any at all, but it gets the job done. I'm not sweating. I'm not drenched. I was like, I can wear them. I can hear. I know exactly. They're Bluetooth. They work well for what it is I need them for, but they call them JLab Sports because assumedly you would wear them when you were like running, which I don't do, or doing exercise, which I don't do. So I sit here and I babble and it works. So that's what I'm wearing. On planes, I would wear over the ear. I'd wear like cups, right? Or
right.
Something that would cover the ear entirely, just, for noise cancellation and nothing else. I do prefer, as what Toxic said, something that covers the ear. But when it comes to these types of scenarios where I need to hear a broadcast and isolate the audio, I'm typically using the JLab Sports, and they work exceedingly well. They do everything they need to do, and that's one of the reasons why it's rare when I get sent a review unit that I hold on to. Like, I'll get it and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of neat. Oh, it's this. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll use it in that circumstance. And then I'd never have that circumstance. And there are plenty of companies that come and they say, oh, we'll send you this, we'll send you that, we'll send you another thing. And I'm like, sure, I'll take a look at it. Why not? But this is by far the product that I've used the most in terms of any kind of audio oriented device that might have been sent to me, specifically like a headphone, earbud, something in that realm. For microphones, Rode actually sent me the Rode Mini, and I'm using. I know we're kind of tossing back and forth with audio input and output, but that's one of the reasons why I felt pretty confident about getting the Rode Mini, or not. So this is not the Rode Mini Plus. What is this Rode?
It's the USB
Plus.
Yeah.
Okay. The Mini is over there.
Plus.
Yeah, and that's nice. The Mini, the USB is nice, but I wanted something that was just a bit more robust sound, something a bit richer, especially when recording these podcasts. And so I felt more confident in buying into the Rode ecosystem after having been sent a review unit of the Mini.
How's the battery life on those JLabs? They do adequate?
I had an issue, and I don't know if it was because there's a misalignment of the USB port on the base unit,
Mm-hmm.
the charging unit, but it wasn't charging for a bit. And I'm like, I jostled, I unplugged, I replugged, I did this, I fiddled with it. It's USB-C. It lasted maybe 2 or 3 times that I used it during these types of scenarios. And so I try to charge it after I'm done, just so I've got a full charge next time I need to have it. It hasn't fallen short on me, at least to this point, though. But I like them. I like them for wearing glasses and needing to hear. They work perfectly.
Right on.
I bought these probably about 2 years ago now. They are the BOSE. I don't know if I could get that in frame.
The BOSE glasses.
Yeah,
I get it.
Banner.
Frame, glasses frame.
Yeah.
Ah.
These are same thing. Very good.
How is that not fun? How is that not funny?
Fell flat. Out of frame.
It was just a delay. It was a lag.
There was a lag.
There's a tech issue.
Yeah, technical issue. It's okay.
Jesus.
But these have been great. I mean, the same thing. There's not bass. The mids are good. Talking on the phone, it's got a 4 microphone array on it. They're
sweet.
They're solid. But the problem is they're sunglasses. So once you walk in somewhere, you still want to listen to music. It doesn't really work. However, the longest amount of time I've been able to use these was at a wedding, because you're outside, there's like that intermission between like the ceremony and like the actual party. I was just outside, hanging out, sometimes mingling with people, and I'd sit there with my shades on. I'm listening to music, carrying on a conversation. And when I get bored, I just turn around like, you know what, screw you guys. Like, I'm going over here. It just kind of look like I'm hanging out, but in fact, I'm just jamming the entire time. So
you're saying you were tuning them out?
tuning them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Was it Corey Hart's I Wear My Sunglasses at Night? Is that the song you always listen to there, Brad?
No, God, please, no. That song's in my head.
Array, like JBL wireless ones, they're
Right on.
Sennheiser ones. These have acted up recently. I've got to figure out why. I can't get it's got a feature where it's supposed to auto cancel or it can bring in the atmosphere or the surrounding sounds. It's doing
Active noise canceling.
Yes, that's what it is. It's doing that by default and I can't turn it off. So that's been frustrating. So
I don't know where he's pulling these out from, Chris. I'm kind of concerned.
Well, here's another one. You guys have seen me on set with stairs.
He's just pulling them right over.
But no, I mean, I use quite a different
intense.
array of them, but I really haven't found one that I love more than these.
And those are the XB700s. That's the model right before these, right? Age-wise. Yeah, okay.
Now, what's crazy is when I bought these were like $80 or $90, and now they're going $120, $150 with, rotten.
Because you can't find them anymore. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, just things happen to them.
That's what the old ones look like, guys.
Yeah. They're,
Ew.
just gets the stuff all over you. So
Yeah, the faux leather.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Leather?
So-
Is that what they call it?
Basically.
Leather.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, last night on stream, swapped these out. Mike and I were just bantering back and forth. It's good to go.
Those phone covers, they're like $15-$20, right?
Yeah. They're not from Sony, the original ones, which I don't even think you could get anymore. Apparently they were like
Right,
50 or
you
$60. But yeah, cheap, generic, aftermarket, they, installed just fine and good to go.
Fair
Can't
enough.
beat it.
We're gonna move on to you, Toxic. Thank you, Mike. By the way, for sharing that. See, you never know where the conversation is going to veer. So I always love that. I always welcome and relish those kinds of topics when they're brought up. What do you got for us this week, Toxic?
So this week for me, it's Gloop, 3D Gloop, and anybody in the 3D printer community knew about this before I did. This is more of a chemical bond with larger PL. This is specific to PLA, as it's noted there. There's different formulas, but it creates more of a chemical bond between the two surfaces. In my case, it's PLA, plastic, stuff behind me. There is, again, different kinds you can print with, and there's different formulas that adhere to that. But I still have my very large print that I talked about, I think, 2 or 3 podcasts ago. Been waiting for this to come in, finally came in, so I'll be assembling that soon. So this is a new one for me.
Is that print? What is that print of? I forget what it's called.
It is a
Mano.
It should be 29 inches tall. It's a 29 inch tall Blastoise. So the Pokemon Blastoise. I'm not into Pokemon anymore, but I saw the model. I'm like, I got.
But why? Hang on.
Right.
Hang on. I don't
why I do this.
understand. You're not into Pokemon
anymore.
Yeah, but you print this gigantic
Oh, it's big.
model. I'm like,
It's like 25 pounds at
Why?
least.
what? I get it if it was your thing. I totally get it. Like
It weighs as much as a 2-year-old.
I just.
Chris,
my
next
God.
he told me that next week he's going to start building extensions to his house off that bamboo printer.
God. I don't understand. I genuinely don't. I admit I don't understand. Like I get it if it was your thing. To totally get it. But
I know why
Well,
I did it.
so
why?
Why do you do it, Glendon?
Wait, Toxic. Why, Glendon?
Because he can.
Okay.
Yes,
that is part
exactly.
Of it. That is part of it.
Why not? Why not?
The other part to it too was it was one of the first generations of Pokemon. So I'm very familiar with that Pokemon. Okay. It's one of the ones that I actually played with when I was into it much younger. Obviously, I don't play the card games or play the video games anymore, but I do have some ties to the model. It's just not active.
What's that green guy behind you?
That is Mooncake from the show Final Space, which is...
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
But, that's one of the main characters from the show.
Not familiar.
Yeah, it was a smaller show.
I haven't used, to come back to what you were showcasing, I've not yet used 3D Gloop. What I usually do is I've got a, when it comes to like getting two pieces together, and I do print in PLA as well, I usually go with the Gorilla Glue Micro Precise. And I go with this very, very fine tipped applicator, lasts long enough, not not terribly long. I used to use the brush on applicator, and it wound up wasting more of the adhesive than anything. And so I effectively moved to this and was fine. The thing about it is I probably overuse it. If you look at the amount that you need per, what is that, a square inch, right? 1 drop per square inch. I definitely do overkill. Like I mean, because you can't, like with a lot of the smaller parts that I do is like, okay, you just need a dab, just a little dab, not that much. And it should work well enough. But I never used 3D Gloop, not to say it's a bad product, because I haven't used it, not to say that it's not worth using. But this is typically what I've come to in terms of getting 2 pieces, PLA pieces together. Although that's the thing. So this is just a glue. It doesn't bond the same way. My understanding, as you illustrated, and Glendon, maybe you could go deeper on this as well, because you've certainly known about it for some time as well. We'll have to ping Andrew after this is said and done. I get the value of bonding, the chemical bond between PLA and PLA, but what makes that better, inherently better than, say, using the super glue that I'm using, which works?
It's basically like welding plastic. You know how you would take 2 pieces of steel and you weld them together, and what you do is you create that bond that's structurally sound, and you're fusing them together with steel. That's what you're using whenever you use that Gloop. It's basically melting the plastic with the plastic and causing a bond
that makes
go
sense.
together.
Yeah,
it's
that
chemical weld is what it is.
Right.
Okay.
Just with plastic. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
And for
That
me,
makes a little sense.
And for me, I would normally go the super glue route, especially with much smaller models like what you typically print. But because of the way that this bigger model is, all the weight is standing on 2 legs, and the entire model is balanced on those legs. So you've got 20-something pounds on 2 legs. So I didn't want, any flexing or anything over time breaking. So this will bond those plastics together.
Yep.
Chris, you said you were getting a dog, right? I think what Brad's going to end up doing, he's just going to end up 3D printing a dog. I think that's going to be the next step. It's not.
I love 3D print.
He's going to try.
Print, it can't show you love. Granted, a 3D print can't crap on the carpet either. But
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Oh, spaghetti.
The bamboo poops.
Yeah,
It does.
The A1 Mini is going to be even worse. I know.
That's it.
It's just going to be slinging it everywhere.
There's the episode title right there. The bamboo poops.
Crazy.
It's great.
So, yeah, I know of 3D Gloop. Like I said, I just don't know for what I'm printing, because I'm not doing massive. And I would say that what you're doing, Brad, aka Toxic Doom, I don't think what I do is even close to what you've been doing, at least with these larger scale models. A lot of what I print is literally the smaller figurines. Like Gloop would be overkill for this.
No,
totally be overkill for this. And this is my typical use case, like these smaller, very smaller models. Every so often I will run into an issue where I need to get maybe some larger pieces put together. But again, just using the super glue has been fine. But there are no tension points, as you pointed out, where something could buckle under the weight or bend or snap, and that would just ruin everything. So it makes sense that you went with 3D Gloop for that adhesion or bonding over, say, a traditional super glue, which this is my question. Why? And you answered it very well.
Brad's going to start adding a wing to his house pretty soon. He's just going to print it out.
I'm just going to start putting crap everywhere.
Oh,
you can.
Let me tell you, it's going to, okay, my house. So we had some people over today to do some service and to do some work. Everybody who comes in, like, they always have the best reaction. Like, oh, wow. Like, what? I mean, this house is a fun house. It is, there's a smattering of Star Wars and 3D printing. It's everywhere. They just love it. Everyone. I've yet to see anybody walk in here and go, So yeah, it is very, it expands rapidly, especially the more you print. 'Cause where are you going to put it? You got to put it somewhere. We got to do here. Put it everywhere. So yeah, it can happen.
A smattering.
Getting another wing on your house.
I mean, you can see how much PLA is missing from the previous week or two. And Glendon, he's got the collection of colors.
He also 3D printed that television. It's pretty great. Tube and all.
If only. Well, thank you, Toxic. I'm sorry. Were you going to say?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, wasn't sure.
All good.
All right. So I'm going to before going into the topic of discussion that I had that I wanted to find out more feedback on, from the rest of the y'all. I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I am in a position where I needed to lease a new vehicle, and I don't have any allegiance to a car brand. Like, I know some people are like dyed in the wool, this company, that company, the other company. I'm not that guy. I look at the underlying technology of what drives the car, and I don't mean drive in terms of an engine or a motor, but more like, what is the experience? And this is one of the reasons I lease vehicles. And this goes back to the first time I leased was in 2003 or 4. In that time range. I'd never even thought about it. I mean, I only knew you buy a vehicle, you make payments, or maybe you buy it outright if you're lucky enough. So I had at that time leased the first vehicle, and from that point forward, every 3 years I have had a different vehicle from a variety of manufacturers or brands or makers or whatever. So I've never had a Hyundai, and I'm coming from a Chevy Bolt. That's Bolt with a B. Full electric vehicle, which we ended up going over on because the previous lease that we had was the Chevy V, as in V as in vampire, Volt, which was it's not, hybrid's the wrong word. It's electric, and then it toggles to gas if you run out of your electric charge. And the Volt worked well, and we went over in mileage on the contract. So we went overboard on the expected mileage for the Chevy Bolt that we were on. And I was on my 50th birthday, I paid for the family to go to Disneyland because I was like, well, I'm not going to sit on my ass at home doing nothing on my 50th, and nothing else would be planned unless I took the bull by the horns and did something. So we met up with Eclipse Empire and You Fly One at Disneyland, and it was great. It was amazing. They had followed me during the vlogging days. They were very supportive, awesome, amazing people to meet. He also drove a Chevy Bolt, and since they discontinued it, he ended up moving to a Hyundai, and I think he went with a Kona. So he went with an electric vehicle from Hyundai, but that was his migration path. Or maybe it was an ioniq. Maybe it was not a lesser ioniq, but definitely not an ioniq 6. So that's what had steered me. You'll pardon the phrasing.
Oh, good Lord.
Come on, Mike got it. Come on, Glendon.
Wait, we got it.
That's
yes, the mic's on.
Are you, Mike? Are you on? I know
I'm
you're
so on. I'm so on.
That steered me to the path of Hyundai, right, and specifically the ioniq. I ended up, looking at the range of the ioniq 5. I looked at the 6. I don't know if the 6 is necessarily the one that I would have been happiest with, believe it or not. I feel I would have been happiest with an ioniq 5, if only because the ioniq 5 has a heads-up display that I thought was in the 6, not in the 6. Or at least the one that I got, the 6 that I got. But I would have loved to have a heads-up display again. Had a heads-up display in a Prius 5 back in the day, about 10 years ago when I leased one of those vehicles. That was a hybrid. That's when I think the Prius was the first partially electric vehicle that I had driven. But I've made the move, to a full-on electric, not a problem. I love it. I can't imagine anything but an electric vehicle personally, but I'm not a car guy. So the thing that drove me to, so to speak, to the ioniq, and specifically the 6, if not the 5, was the dash. Like, it was all, it looks like a spaceship. I'm telling you, I don't love car experiences, but this is as close to loving a car experience as I think I've gotten. The resolution is sharp on these screens. It's teched out. It's got, the ability. I look for basics, and at this point, my basic may be different from yours, but I learned that I love the adaptive cruise. That's a feature that once you
That's
have,
awesome.
without. It works, and it works. So now I know, like moving forward, okay, I'm going to have the adaptive cruise. Love it. Although the controls are a lot more wonky in the Hyundai compared to the Chevy Bolt. The Chevy Bolt was far more intuitive, far easier to use. So the usability on the Hyundai front right now, I'm not like sold on, but a lot of it is just kind of getting used to new controls. For example, shifting is more of a stick that pops off the what do you call it? The drive shaft?
Steering column. Yeah, steering column.
Steering column. I'm really bad at this. By the way, the girl that I was talking about earlier, about who loves cars, we were talking and she was asking questions and I had like the deer in the headlights look like.
I just showed up and went that one.
I don't know. It's got a transmission, I think. I don't know what happens there. So
I'm looking at this dash. It looks beautiful, man.
But that's what I'm saying. It was,
yeah.
It blew me away. So the rigmarole at the dealership was we went in and I was like, okay, I'm looking for the ioniq 6 and this is why. And they worked out a deal. We worked out a deal that was reasonable. I wasn't thrilled with the monthly rate, but we negotiated. I'm like, okay, this is fine. And then they came back and after everything was said and done, they said, okay, it's coming in another half hour because it was distributed. The car was elsewhere in the state of Washington. And then they didn't have it. And so they said, well, would you be happy with a 5? I'm like, I guess. Could I take a look? And say, yeah, we can drive a 5. So I drove the 5 around the lot. I'm like, this is great. Yeah, this is perfect. It'll work great. And then, so I was like ready to do the 5. He said, oh, I'll work you a great deal. I'll do a great deal. They came back and the deal was worse than the one for the 6. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going with the 6. Well, but the only problem with the 6 is it's only in white. I hate
white is so hard to take care of.
Every dirt and debris is on that freaking car. And yes. I'm like, I don't want a white vehicle. But it was the best option because I'm like, okay, maintenance and upkeep, which I'm probably not going to do. It's going to be very dirty, very debris-y. I just coined a phrase.
Is that a word?
It is now.
Sweet.
I like it.
Or pay more a month for something that might have been just as suitable. So, and with a heads-up display, which I learned, again, the 6 didn't have, and I didn't realize it until it was effectively delivered. So I ended up going with the 6, and it was delivered at night, came to the house, and, oh, God, you can change. It's got a illuminate, like light bars, right? So you can change the color of these bars that are, throughout, so you can change blue
on the interior of the vehicle.
Interior of the vehicle, right?
Got it.
And so I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, it's got Android Auto, which is great, very snappy performance, snappiest I've ever had. Does not have wireless charge, or it has wireless charging for a smartphone, but you have to tether it to a USB port in order for Android Auto or assumedly CarPlay to work, which is a little disappointing. It does have separate USB ports underneath the armrest, which is cool, but I don't think it's useful as the armrest that is adjustable in the 5. It does have a sunroof, if not moonroof, on the 6, which is neat. I haven't had a car that had one of those in a number of years. It's nice to have, not perfect to have. But the thing that, I mean, again, the technology, and I say this very carefully. I like tech for what it does. I like the experience. The camera system has the like a virtual kind of overview, like the camera's hovering above your car and you have like a 360-degree view. They took it a step further, at least with the 6, not having compared the 6 to the 5. I should get, I should get this girl I'm talking about. I should get her to come on and talk about cars.
Yeah, for real.
Trust me on this, guys. Like, she knows what the hell she's talking. She knew exactly. She's like, bam, bam. I'm like,
so she's the one we should be talking about the difference between like the 5 and 6. Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. Like,
got it.
So she knew exactly what was going on when she saw me driving through the parking lot. Because I'm not the kind of guy who goes around like, I'm driving to this vehicle. I'm like, when I'm driving, I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who's like, park, I'm good. There we go. So,
what was your first car, Chris?
My first car, I think my dad, I'm not going to say was pissed. And I don't mean pissed as in drunk. I mean, not pissed.
Yeah, we needed that clarification.
Thank you.
When you say pissed, right? If I do this, like that's bad. Over there is bad, but in America it's like peace. So well, hey, I love you. I don't know what this is. But all the people in the UK are going, I can't believe you just flipped this off. Oh, I almost knocked my mic over. I got really excited there. So, what was I talking about?
Your
first car.
First car. It was a piece of crap.
That was the brand name. Okay, got it.
It was a generic piece of crap.
Yugo.
No, it wasn't a Yugo, but
oh God,
it was an older vehicle. I pissed off my dad because I didn't care, and he was a car. I mean,
he's a car guy.
Cars. He wasn't a car guy. He was just into cars, and you remember, you're 16, you get to drive, you want the freedom, and I was just like, I'm collecting garbage pail kids. Like, I'm looking for a 15 series here. So I knew.
It's like buying a lawnmower for most people or something, maybe. Yeah.
Exactly. I just didn't care enough. Right. And so I think I did detect a fair amount of disappointment with my dad. Not that, he's like, you know what? Like, and he didn't do it like me, right? If I were to do it with Jedi, right? Like, how could you not? It's a car. How could you not get excited for a car? Like, I would play it totally different than I think my dad did. But again, I credit to him.
And credit to the piece of crap.
Looking it up in the want ads, not want ads, but the classified. Sorry, the classified ad.
Newspapers, guys, newspapers.
A $500. It wasn't a VW bug, but it was something like it. It wasn't a car. It was like something like it, but it wasn't. It was like a knockoff bug, and it was so decrepit is the wrong word. Like it was. There was a hole in like a literal hole in the passenger seat behind the driver's seat. Oh, that you could see through to the ground. Like this.
The floorboard.
It's floorboard, right? You could literally look through.
It's a ventilated floorboard. It's a ventilated floorboard. That's a feature. That's a feature, Chris.
Oh my God. It was in the winter. Oh my God. Forget the heater. The heater was non-existent, right? So, that was the first vehicle.
That weight reduction in the South.
God, it was such.
Ankle
you know what? I gotta say, it was. I'm happy to have had that experience.
Weight reduction.
But man, I don't know. As a parent these days, that was a death wish on wheels. I tell you, back in the day, like what the fuck were my parents thinking? Putting me in that
That's probably why he's disappointed. He's gonna die in this now. Okay.
They wanted to kill me because this thing was so bad. And it worked. To its credit, it worked. But I remember the funny thing is, all the other kids, right? I would say we were squarely middle class. We weren't lower. We definitely were not upper, but we were squarely middle class. But all the kids that I went to high school with we were squarely in the same the category. So like, another kid had this large ass El Camino, like just
right
tank. And we used to, I know joyride is the wrong word, but we used to take turns riding in the trunk and guessing where the hell we were. Like it was so much fun. Those days were so much fun.
Yeah.
But the fact that my car did not break down while driving, like the pedal, you would have it floored and be lucky to hit 55. So, that was the first car I had, and I've come a long way. A long way since then. I've got the ioniq 6. I can't say enough about it because I haven't had a depth of experience. I've had it maybe just for a few days at this point, but it's already impressing girls. So
there you go.
Wisely. I had no idea. So now my lead in is like, I need that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I came here 5 minutes. I'm in the ioniq 6 out there, the Hyundai ioniq 6.
Sorry, can't stay long, lady. I got the ioniq running.
I don't have my definitely don't have my vehicle on me. I don't have the keys. The neat thing about it is you can set it to approach the vehicle and it unlocks automatically. One thing I don't like, and I have to figure out what the setting is. I can't hear the car, and I'm used to like driving in the parking lot. Driving in the parking lot, parking, not knowing where I parked, hitting the button, and then hearing a honk. And there's not a setting right now to be able to hear that. That's unfortunate, but it is fortunate in the sense that it will tell you, like I'll park it, walk away. It'll warn you maybe within a few minutes, hey, you're unlocked. Oh, okay, lock the car. And then it's a free service that it now comes with, at least for a couple of years on the lease. That's nice. It also comes with Electrify America coverage, which is like being able to charge the electric vehicle at certain stations. And we have one nearby. The problem is I couldn't get it to work exactly, so I've got a ticket out on getting some support on that. You can adjust when it's parked. You can adjust forward and backward to it. Like, let's say, oh, okay, I parked in the space, but I need to move it back a little bit. Oh, I can press a couple buttons in a sequence on the remote. Like parallel parking, for example. Oh, I'm too close to the front. Well, I can actually press a button in the remote and go boop, 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 and actually move the vehicle back and forth outside the vehicle without driving. It drives.
Sweet.
I don't parallel that much, and I'll have to look into how to do the automatic parallel parking. So again, these are nice techy features that really play in, with the overarching experience once you learn how to do them. Another thing I think is really nice, blind spot. Even with the technology we have today of like, click, there's something, it's blinking, there's something in the blind spot. Old habits die hard. I always check, but this blind spot detector actually shows a picture, like an actual live image of the camera saying, this is the vehicle. Not only does it warn you, like red lights show up, but if you when you turn on your turn signal, a little circular image pops up of a live view of what's over there. Which is
that on the mirror or is that on one of the dash screens?
No, I don't think it's on the dash. Assumedly that. Sorry for hitting the mic. Assumedly it's on the dash. Sorry, Mike.
Hit
sorry,
me.
not Mike. Damn it.
The image is on the dash. The
Beer.
camera is on the mirror.
This is a good beer.
Oh, we're there now. Okay.
Only took an hour. It's fine.
But you can do, when you turn on, there's an actual dedicated button, which I like, a dedicated button for the camera view. So once you live with a camera in your car, you can't, it's
life-changing.
Yeah. It's like how would you explain it? It's like this and this, it's like the difference between this and this. So especially when it comes to parking, backing up, anything like that. But what makes this somewhat unique, and I think it's more gimmicky, but it's neat to kind of show off. But I would say squarely within the gimmicky realm, the 360 camera that looks like a camera is pointed, down, on above the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You can in the Ioniq 6 press a button, right, show the camera view, and then toggle to a virtual AR mode. So you press the button, then you've got your 3D vehicle that you can actually touch and spin around, and so you can see the vehicle surroundings. But I don't know how useful that is in context. The 360 cam does well enough. I mean, like I said, look, you can do a 360 spin. It's not as useful because of
just cool,
but it's kind of neat. But
right.
Again, I steer towards, to use that phrase again, the usable technologies that make it a better driving experience, and it drives smoothly. It's
did a 5 and a 6 drive similarly?
Yeah, very, very. To me, and I'm not a vehicle file. This is where I would punt to this girl that I know. Like she's automatic. She's become, and I don't mean she is the car gal, right? I mean, I'm not branding her that way, but like I'm not joking, y'all. You think I'm joking? I'm going to invite her on to the podcast. I'm going to have her on.
Let's do it.
We're going to have a car talk. Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, we are all. This is awesome.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And I'm just going to be like,
yeah, just say you're not going to get a word in, Chris. I just going to let you know in advance.
Yeah. Just going to sit there going, yep.
That's all that's going to happen. Because she can do it. She can talk cars. She knew exactly what was going on. And she was asking all the right questions. So, anyway, yeah, I'll introduce you to her at some point. I love finding like experts in the field.
They really know their stuff, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like she knows, she knew what was going on, like more than I did. I'm like, how do you know that? I'm like, everybody's got that one thing they geek out on. And, I love meeting those people, whether or not they're geeking about this, that, or the other thing, because now I got a question or whatever. I turn to her. Like I got a question about, audio stuff. I might turn to you, Mike. I got a question about, network stuff. I might turn to Toxic, or I got a question about, honestly, Glendon is probably a renaissance man as far as a lot of these things are concerned. But like I can ask these questions of other people. So I love being able to meet other people who are really, really geek experts, probably a bit. I can't speak for somebody else, but very geeky about that one thing.
Right.
So anyway, it's been a good drive, very, very smooth driving. I'm trying to think of anything else that I've observed on the ioniq 6 over the past.
Range.
Range is for an electric, and I don't charge it every night, but I'm a little under 200 right now. But I think the range at 100% battery capacity is over 200, 220, 224 or whatever. 220, 221, whatever it takes. That was a Mr. Mom reference. Nice. I think 240, but you can set the nerfing of the battery capacity charging, like 90% is what they recommend. So my effective, what I do before I might need to recharge is, I have it nerfed, so it'll never charge over 90. And then, when it gets close to 10, that's when I might charge it again. And most of my driving is in town. So I don't keep it plugged in. I don't always have it fully charged unless I know I might need the range, which did not happen with the Bolt. So yeah, I'm genuinely happy with it. It's a sedan. I'm not thrilled about the size. It is a little larger than I think I might need at this point, but I do prefer the compact. I would have gone with the Kona. They did not have any in stock. And honestly, the biggest turnoff, and I realize this is a bit nitpicky. I'm going to say this, and I understand the weight of this word. Not everybody feels the same. Some people find it elegant. I absolutely loathe analog dials. I loathe the needle. I don't need that shit. I don't want that shit. I'm certainly not going to be paying for that shit. So I'm demonetized on YouTube all of a sudden. I don't know what that.
Cha-ching.
So I'm not a fan of it, and I don't like it. I just don't like the look. I want to know precisely what's my speed. 24, great. Speaking of, before I forget.
Oh, you're talking about the analog instrument panel cluster stuff.
Yeah,
the mile per hour and the tachometer and all that.
Whether it's a clock, the speedometer, tachometer, whatever. I want fully digital. Unfortunately, I think the Kona only had the analog dials, and there may be one that doesn't. But again, I hadn't looked too deeply. So one of the things that I like about the 6, at least, and I think this also is on the 5. I think the 5 and the 6 have the same dashboard. Very techy, very spaceship-like. You get the speed limit because the mapping system, that's connected to their software.
GPS.
Free. Well, I don't know if it's GPS specifically. They do have map updates. It's more like they know where you are. It gets the live speed limit as well as your warning signs. It'll tell you, hey, there's a stop, or hey, there's a school zone. So it knows. But this is a free. It's comped. It's comped with at least the Hyundai.
Part of the service.
Yeah, which normally that would be an add-on that I probably wouldn't pay for. Now, I will say that, and I don't have a lot of experience with CarPlay, but at least with Android Auto, that also works, like the speed limit, but only when you've mapped in a destination, which is a little disappointing, at least as far as Android Auto is concerned. You do have, as I mentioned, Android Auto and CarPlay support, which is beyond a boon, and I use it, constantly. I have only yet begun to explore what it has to offer. I think both cooled and heated seats. Another thing for efficiency is driver side only heating or cooling, which is nice because, again, it saves you energy, which of course saves you range. You've got the ability, of course, to regenerate the battery. I'm still getting used to the controls, but like I said, unfortunately, I don't know if the controls are as intuitive as they were on the Chevy Bolt. I'm repeating on purpose because there's the Bolt, Vampire Volt, but they've discontinued both of those. That's one of the reasons why I flipped away from Chevy. I'm like, okay, well, if you don't have anything to offer, I'm good. I've already driven Kia. I get what they are. It's fine. It's great. But I'm like, I kind of want to try something new. And I will tell you, based upon, despite all the car theft that's happening around Hyundai vehicles right now, which I only learned about when I got the insurance back, I'm like, what the well, vehicle theft. I'm like, oh my God. But they are very, I guess, Hyundai vehicles. This is what I'm not possessive, but my car gal, what she had said was, there could be theft involved. It's very easy, not as easy, I guess, as Kia's, which of course would lead to higher insurance rates. So that's a bit disappointing. So, the next cycle I may end up floating away from Hyundai to something else altogether, if only to save money. But
the new ones are good. The new ones are good when it comes to that stuff. But the older ones, it's the older ones that have issues.
I don't know about the security.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't speak to that, unfortunately.
So the next one's going to be a GMC Hummer, right?
No, I don't think I'm gonna. I don't know if that's still gas or electric now, but
it's electric. It's all electric.
Oh, okay. Now
it's about the size of your house, Chris.
But no, I'm not. I'm a compact car kind of guy. That's the one thing that concerns me, is that I'm so used to driving a compact car that driving a full size sedan, and I think it's full size. It's got a nice turn radius. I'll say it feels like it's better than the Bolt, the Chevy Bolt. But I'm a little concerned that I don't yet have that down compared to the compact car. So I have to be a lot more conservative with the turn, or to make sure that I'm not gonna. But it also warns, like as I'm turning, it'll go boop 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 boop. Like, okay, if it starts to go boop, okay, 3-point turn. Let's readjust, right, and getting used to that. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm satisfied. Or satisfied enough, I should say, with the deal that was done with the lease, and with the vehicle. Sorry, I'm like, oh God, I'm talking so much about this car, and I shouldn't be. This wasn't even the thing I was going to bring up this week, but I guess it is, because I don't want to belabor this and I don't want to drag this on. The thing I was going to talk about. So I guess for next week, I'm going to ask you what you use to clean your screen. This week, it's about the Hyundai ioniq 6 in cars. So,
not brought to you by Hyundai, by the way.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Hyundai, if you're listening.
Yeah, we're doing this for free one time.
For a brief while, I was testing vehicles every week. I was.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get into that program again. I should get this car gal into that program. Oh my God, y'all, trust me. Like, I'm like, dude. Like, I can see it. I can see talent a mile away, and I'm like, that's talent. I'm telling you.
This is talent too. Check this guy out. He's cool.
Yeah. She could be a car influencer, like, without blinking. I'm like, it hit. She's doing. She's working. I'm like, how are you have to like dude, like this is So,
Chris, my next car is going to be it's going to have an all digital dash. Isn't that right, Brad?
It's beautiful.
It is. Yeah.
I'm buying Brad's car.
It's a 90s digital dash.
It is. Yeah, screen for the win. So Brad has a 1994 Cadillac Fleetwood. It's got 6 doors on it. I'm not kidding. So it looks like a small limo, and I'm buying it from him. It's an all digital dash. It's all digital dash. No kidding.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah. So it's a 6-door Cadillac.
Yeah.
It's a 6-door Cadillac.
How did this happen? Why is this happening?
I need a car.
He needs a car. I have a car for sale. It's cheap.
And it's a real cool car. It's very unique. It's got 6 doors on it. So it looks like a small limousine, basically, is what it looks like. And it's an amazing older car, but it's got an all-digital dash. That's one of my caveats as well.
And low
mileage.
Saying.
And low mileage, yeah. It's practically a brand new car, even though it's from 94.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you a picture of it sometime or something.
I can Google it.
It's in Cantina.
I'll ask my car gal.
She'll appreciate it.
He's like, I got a gal.
It's
trust.
I got a guy. Yeah.
Y'all,
I got a guy and a gal.
Hang on.
I got people.
You laugh now. I don't know what the topic is, but trust me, you get her going, she lights up, and that's the kind of passion.
It's awesome.
That's the type of passion that I'm like. And I even asked. I said, like, all right, like we don't know each other because we've only known each other from like just running into each other. So I said, would you like to drive it? And she was nervous. She's like, no, I can't. I'm telling you. I'm like, you want to drive it? I know she wants to drive it, but she doesn't want to drive it. Like, come on, you want to drive it? I'd be in the vehicle too, because the last thing I'd want, like, where'd it go?
Yeah, exactly. Probably a good plan.
Yeah.
She lit up. I mean, to the point where I was just like, dude, like that's That's like, you know how some people get that way with smartphones. Oh my God. Well, maybe not
Right.
as much anymore, but like, oh my God, you have this. Oh my God, you have that.
Anybody that has that much passion is amazing. Period. Whatever it is.
It is palpable. It was so palpable that my wheels were already turning. I'm like, and I told her, I'm like, you need to, her calling is that. Like, there's zero doubt in my, y'all just, I'm going to try. If and when you meet her, you will understand exactly what I mean in this moment, where her with cars is like me with Star Wars. Right. I mean, that's that kind of, that's the kind of, whoa. That's the level that you're able to pick up on. And that's, that's great because people, well, at least guys, at least love cars. So I'm like, I tolerate cars. It's like, hey, it gets me from point A to point B. I'm good.
We're all car guys.
I'm happy.
Yep.
So I don't know. I can't make any promises, but I will do my best at some point in the future to be able to introduce you to someone that I would definitely trust with cars a hell of a lot more than I trust myself.
Yeah, let's do a car talk. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we can't do a car talk. That's syndicated. That's NPR. That's click.
Yeah, we'll call it something else.
Click and clack. Was that the? Are those
TLD car? TLD car.
I get TLD car.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That one's free.
Coin it.
Okay, so that's okay. I'm done. That is my topic for tonight. I'm not going to worry about how to clean your screen. I was a bonus because I just got the car, right? So
that's a big one.
It's fresh. It's fresh.
So it is fresh. All right, Glendon.
What
topic of discussion did you want to?
We were supposed to have topics.
What?
Oh, we were supposed to come prepared. My bad.
What?
Quick, London, quick.
What topic?
Come up with something. What
you got? We got to talk about.
What I want to talk about is whenever it comes to computers, everybody here in this screen uses one on a daily basis, like most Americans do now. Okay. My whole thing is, personally, I always want to have the biggest and baddest or close to as I possibly can. And I've been that way forever. Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's not necessary. Okay. I like the game. Gaming is my primary use for my other computer that's in the adjacent room here. The thing is, I want to know about bottlenecking. Okay. And whenever I say bottlenecking, there's different types of bottlenecking.
Right.
Instead of me going out and purchasing or building a new PC every couple of years, right? Is it smarter to just continue to upgrade? Or should I continue to just rebuild from the ground up like I have been? Because I'm afraid of performance drop, right? Okay. I don't want that to happen. I know hardware gets older, things start to diminish, but in your experience, I want to discuss with you guys bottlenecking and when you all feel that it's the time to upgrade.
Where that divider is, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because for me, I don't ever want it to be the time to upgrade personally, because I always want to be the guy that's always up here. Just,
right.
Don't upgrade because there's nothing to upgrade to.
Sure.
Times change, financial situations change. They're always not the same for every person. I want to know what drives each and every one of you on maintaining or purchasing a new computer.
Apple announced their, granted, this is not the direction that I think you meant, but it is still very relevant.
Sure.
Let me give you my response to that question as far as PC is concerned up front. I would feel that once I hit a law of diminishing returns for an upgrade, that's when I would think, okay, it's time to go. As in, you upgrade this component, that component, this component, that component. You've got 4 components that have pretty much maxed out, but then there's something above and beyond that might be 30% better. After you've maxed out, that array, you're going to be benefiting 50% or higher in going to a new system. So I think that's the delta with what you currently have with what's out there. So for example, let's say you've got, a PC and you've got Wi-Fi 6, and this is probably a horrible example to use in context, but you got Wi-Fi 6, oh man, this is a really good beer. Give me hiccups.
Oh no, there's the hiccups.
There it is.
Uh-oh.
So you got the Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
and then they have the new Wi-Fi. And the problem is, so if you knew you had the ability to gain that much more from the upgrade in more than one component, like one component, you're not going to see that much, I don't think, that much of a gain. But if you start talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that if they changed on that next level, I feel like 4 or 5 fundamentally different changes that you would see the difference in. I feel 4 or 5 is that, to me, for a PC, and even for a Mac, that's the delta. So I've got an M1, I think, Max that I'm using, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but Apple just recently announced their M3 systems, including the 16-inch M3 Max, which, has benefits. And I think I want to say a 30% or so gain. I'm like, yeah, that would be noticeable, but it would disappear pretty quickly. So I'm not, the benefits of going from an M1 to an M3 may not be as much of a I guess, for me, as much of a boon, as opposed to maybe waiting for an M4 or maybe even M5 to go from an M1. That would be a tremendous leap. So when you're talking about, again, in the 4 range of upgrades across the board, whether they're individual components and or, different echelons of, core speed or what have you, can I call it infrastructure, right? The
Sure.
underlying, the hardware. I feel like 4 is a magic number. 1, not enough. 2, iterative. 2, okay. 3, you're getting there, but 4 to me, in terms of components, whatever those components are, whether you're talking about speed of it, your SSD or your, the motherboard or on down the line. 4, to me, unlike 3 being a magic number from Schoolhouse Rock, and yes, I remember Schoolhouse Rock, love it. 3 is not a magic number for me in terms of that upgrade path or the beyond the swapping out of components within the same system. 4 is where I start to go, okay, it's time. And then 5, it's like, all right, now it's definitely time. Did that make sense?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying there, and that makes sense. What is it that you notice first? Whenever you feel that you need to make an upgrade, what is it that you normally see that you have to upgrade first? What's that? And what makes you even think that, hey, it's time to upgrade,
Okay.
other than the fact of it being 2 generations old? What are you seeing in diminishing returns that says I need to do this?
It's the bump, right? It's like saying, hey, your single core performance is going to jump by X%. And that's where I start thinking, okay, well, that's my daily driver. That's the thing I use on a regular basis. It's going to be that much faster. I don't do a lot of heavy desktop processing at this point, at least as far as like video crunching or audio, editing or anything like that. So a lot of it would be diminishing returns. I don't know if I'd see it apart from maybe an initial bump. So as long as I can hold out on it, I'd be good. I think responsiveness, launching, whether it's launching apps faster, even browsing the web. And yeah, that's a thing. It's a benchmark of being able to browse the web faster. It's been that way for quite some time, JavaScript execution on down the line. And I wouldn't laugh that off given how much I use the web on the desktop on a regular basis, as well as many other people. So I feel like even though I don't live my life based upon generic benchmarks, I don't put much faith in them, it is still a good indicator as to whether or not I'm going to see an impact. I don't game a lot, so see, oh, it's going to give you that much better frame rate, not as much of a value add for me. So, again, I think every fourth generation, it's typically like these big boosts. Right now, what would be the thing that would probably flip me over? And again, it's kind of like the bottleneck, right? You're talking about bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have any bottlenecks right now, but when Wi-Fi 7 is a thing, I'll be upgrading my access points to Wi-Fi 7, knowing full well that I don't have a lot of Wi-Fi 7 capable devices on the network. But that is the thing, Wi-Fi 7, to get me to upgrade, that much more of a thinking of I need to upgrade because then it's got Wi-Fi 7 support. So let's say for a Mac, when I need to connect to the wireless network,
that, yeah.
Words.
So when I need to connect to the wireless network, I know I'm connecting at Wi-Fi 7, say, versus 6 or 6E. I'm not even on 6E because I'm like, that's a holdover. I can wait. And I'm fine with doing that. So it's the components that I know I'm going to use, that I'm going to see an actual return on and enough of a generation leap to be able to justify that cost. Because as much as I upgrade my phone, and this is a parallel, I upgrade my phone every year because I'm constantly on it, constantly using it for photos, using it for, social, using it for apps, using it for whatever. So I'm like, this is the thing that I'm going to upgrade on a regular basis. But the desktop or laptop, it's too expensive in terms of the return I'm getting. So the further I can push out every 5 years, knowing that leap, even then, might not even be palpable. When I go from an M1 to maybe an M4, maybe an M5, I don't know if I'm going to see the difference. That's the thing, is systems have become so fast. You might notice initially, but it's like, this seems just as fast as it was, with the one I had before, which makes me feel that much more confident about not upgrading. It's all those underlying technologies that you don't see the differences in until you actually need it. In launching apps, in connecting to the internet, in, exporting a video file. When you need it, that's when it shows up. But it's not something that is, systemic across the board. Like, oh my God, this is like night and day. Hopefully that addressed at least my perspective on your question.
It's interesting, or I find it interesting, that you talked about cost, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about it being expensive to upgrade a PC. It's dependent upon the component first, right?
Right.
So, RAM's not going to be as expensive nowadays anyway as a graphics card or a processor or an SSD. But a graphics card compared to a modern phone that you upgrade every year, that's apples to apples there, in my opinion, because you're looking at the price point now of these flagship phones are well over $1,000.
Yep.
And you're looking at the same price point for an updated GPU.
Right, exactly.
But here's the thing. I'm able to sell my old phone to make up that cost difference. So I don't know what the cost, the price was, but I feel like I can get hundreds of dollars out of trading in recently, let's say the Google Pixel 7 to be able to better afford the 8, or I'll do it with the S24 Ultra versus the S20, what is this? S23 Ultra.
23.
So I mitigate costs because I'm not going to hold on to this, right? I don't care. I'll mitigate the costs where I can. So I don't know if that's as easily done, although I'd be surprised. Is there a second hand or a used graphics card market out there?
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's massive.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me at all.
It's very easy to upgrade from one generation to another. That's how I fund, at least 40% of the cost from one generation to another. Whenever it comes to graphics cards, because you've got people that don't upgrade every year and don't see it or see the need to upgrade every year, or don't play at a higher resolution, or they're not rendering, graphics. So they may not need as much horsepower until they actually need that much horsepower, like through an operating system or something.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of people out there that you can benefit from selling on the secondhand market.
Right, and I do that.
Yeah.
For my setup, I had an i7 6700K, and I used that with 32 gigs of RAM. I had a 980 Ti in it, so as an old everything, and I used it right up until 12 months ago, and I moved from that to a 12 series i9, 64 gigs of RAM. 3050 or something like that in there for the GPU. And it wasn't until I started doing the streaming a lot more where I actually needed the more horsepower for the i9. I actually really needed the additional horsepower for that I decided, okay, it's time for me to do this. When I hit the 32 gigabyte limit on that 6700K board, I was like, okay, I can't add any more RAM. I need more RAM. When I finally found that actual need, that's when I said, okay, it's time to just start over. And then I started with the ground up with the gigabyte motherboard, i9. So I use that. So it's about a 5-year cycle on average for me. Is what I found. It's just where I just completely use the heck out of whatever I have until I want to start over. Then I just invest everything into the new one.
So I think we're on the same track. I mean, I feel like as far as the desktop goes, Mac or PC, I feel 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Much like you, Mike, I feel like that's the right number.
Right. Yeah. It depends on the component, like he said. No, you're not at all. Well, you are my spirit animal, though, and that I always want the latest, greatest, most badass thing out there. For sure. I am that guy. I just don't have the funds or the finances to be able to reasonably do that. I could, but, I don't need to take a second mortgage out on my house, right? Oh, I do? Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, I'm trying to stay reasonable about it. But I'll have this i9 probably for at least 5 years, probably longer. Just swap out the parts like you're talking about. Another video card when it comes time, more RAM until I max it out. Yeah.
The last iteration of the PC that I had, I kept the processor probably longest out of, well, not probably, but definitely longer out of any part of the hardware, because it's harder to, I'm not going to say move on, or the need isn't as pressing. Right. Whenever you're playing a game. I say that. Now, there are certain games that are more CPU bound than others. Most of the time it is graphics heavy or intensive 3D GPU rendering projects that's you need more GPU horsepower than a CPU.
Right.
But I tell you, I don't know. It's just every time a new GPU comes out, I'm always just... I gotta, I mean,
I feel you, bro.
I don't think that I need it now. I'm extremely happy with what I have. Okay, saying that, and I'm running a 7900 XTX, which is AMD's top of the line board or GPU. Right. I did move away from NVIDIA because I feel that they are price gouging the hell out of everyone.
Which is why I have a 3050. Right.
Which is what they're charging on their cards. I mean, I remember whenever I had a Titan card, this is several generations back now.
Right.
That was the $1,000 video card, and that was unheard of then. Now, you can't touch a high-end or high-spec graphics card from either brand for anything less than $1,000. And it's becoming harder and harder to justify that, even for myself. At the rate that they're putting these out. It's not been as bad recently. It's seemingly they're lasting a little longer than they used to. I think a lot of that had to do with the shortages on the processors.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
To people were just trying to hold on to what they had because it wasn't readily available.
And to your point earlier, I repurposed everything. So my 6700K is now my media server in the living room underneath the big TV. And the 980 that was in it, it is now the thing that powers the gaming stream on Twitch. So I still continuously, and I'll run those into the ground before I replace them. It's perfect for a server. for my needs anyway. Yeah. So
What about you, Brad?
Yeah.
So my perspective's along the same lines, but a little different. I'm going to go back to my original high school build. So I'll put it, my late high school build, which was
still running Windows 98, right?
Yeah, yep. The Service Pack 1.
Awesome.
Then it's a Q6600 quad core. It's the first quad core that came out, not the Extreme.
Awesome.
8 gigs of RAM. I think it's DDR2, 800 megahertz. When I first built it, it was standard standard mechanical drives SATA.
Right.
And I built it originally with an 8800 GTS, 512 megs of VRAM. Like, it was a good card. Did everything great. Got triple monitor gaming out of it. Worked flawlessly for years. When I've hit my first bottleneck, it was the GPUs, because newer intensive games coming out with higher end graphics. And again, I was still doing the triple monitor thing, which I was pushing the resolution beyond what the card technically supported. So instead of going out and buying a brand new card, I went on eBay, and this was years after I built it. Went on eBay and bought the exact same card used and SLI'd it. So then
great idea
to push some of the physics rendering for his X to the second card, and then the primary GPU just for textures and that kind of thing. It did give me about another year and a half of use out of it. After that, I had to upgrade the graphics cards because they actually artifacted. They completely just bit the dust. At that point, I didn't buy the latest and greatest because, again, money. So I got a brand new discontinued by manufacturer, end of life production 780. Not the TI, just the standard 780 with the standard cooler on it. Put that in, started playing that quad core, which came out, I think, in like 2007 or so. That got me up all the way to EA's Battlefield 1, which I think was 2014, 15.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So, I got at least 7+ years out of gaming. And what really struggled at that point was the CPU bottleneck, because I was only running 4 cores, no hyper-threading. I could do the primary stuff, just running around shooting the bad guys kind of thing. But anytime a explosion happened, I got 0.3 frames per second, because you could literally see it processing, the particle effects, how everything's going to get rendered. And then after the explosion was fine, then I could keep running around. So that's when I knew I needed a new computer, because the CPU at that point's the bottleneck. And the chipset was so old, there really wasn't anything better than a quad core at that chipset level.
Just that extreme. That's it. Yeah.
Exactly. So even overclocking didn't help it. So when I built this machine right here next to me, that was 2016, I believe it was. Mike, I'm running a very similar chipset to what your media server is now running. It's an i7 6850K, so it's got more PCI lanes.
Right.
I maxed it out right away. I went with brand new to market Samsung 980 Pro M.2 drive. Was a 1 terabyte drive. Very expensive when it came out. It was like $650.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I was like, I'm just going right out. Like, I've saved. I got almost 10 years out of my last computer. This is what I'm going to do.
Right.
So when M.2, 128 gigs of DDR4, with the 6850K and a GTX 1080, and I'm still running it today. Now, my thought process is that obviously if again, my GPU is the bottleneck, I can get a newer GPU. If my CPU becomes the bottleneck, this was the generation that they came out with the 10 core. Now, it didn't clock as high, but if it's a truly multi-threaded platform, or if I turn this into a server and I want a couple more cores, those chips have now come down in value. And if I'm doing multiple virtual machines, I will get more performance per watt out of that. So that's kind of been my mentality. And again, with the memory, I'm running at 35 gigs used right now out of 128 gig. I've never used 128 gig except for making a RAM disk, which is a temporary hard drive on the RAM, and I installed Skyrim onto it just to see how fast it would load because my buddies were like, "Oh, the load times are horrible." I don't play Skyrim. I didn't know, but I downloaded it, installed it on Steam onto my RAM, and it was instantaneous. Right, you're pushing like 8+ gigs per second in 2014.
That's great.
Bytes per second, not gigabit. It flies. So when this eventually becomes where the point where I do have to upgrade, realistically, this is going to become a server. It's still going to be way overkill, even for a home lab use, which I've touched on before in the previous podcast. And, from there, that's kind of been my incremental upgrade path.
Yeah, finances play a big part into it, I mean, if I didn't hit that 32 gig bottleneck, because I'm running 64 now and I'm using 36 of it. So I knew I was going to hit that bottleneck. If I didn't have that, I'd still be running my 6700K probably right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Does that better answer your question, London?
Yeah. The one question that I may still have is, when do you know, because I'm not a network guy like you and Brad, or even Chris for that much, because I that's one thing that I don't know as much about is networking side of things. Okay.
Well, how much, but how? Okay, so if you're talking network, how much are you pushing locally? I mean, versus, let's say, to the internet, upload, download. How much are you pushing locally?
That's my question. That I was going to go into that. Currently I can only go up 40.
Well, that's the
internet side.
On my internet side.
Oh,
we're talking hardware in general. Because you were talking about Wi-Fi 6E and then Wi-Fi 7 and so on and so forth. That has to be considered also, right? Whenever you're doing an upgrade.
So you remember back,
right?
But hang on, it's incremental, right? Because a lot of devices today, 6E or 6, right?
Sure.
And so I would only say push to getting even the access point, like let's say to Wi-Fi 7, when you have like 3 or 4 devices on your network that are Wi-Fi 7. Like getting the access point ahead of time may cost you more, and then you'd be adding devices as as they come in, depending again on what it is that you're doing. But that's the bottleneck is less about at that point the access point and more about the actual devices. That's the bottleneck. So it's not black and white. But if you get, like, for example, one device that's got Wi-Fi 7, it won't be worth upgrading to a Wi-Fi 7 access point. But if you start getting 2, 3, 4, then it starts to make sense. Okay, now it's time to upgrade the access point. You don't necessarily want to upgrade the hardware before you need to. And if you upgrade the hardware without actually having the other hardware that's going to support the new hardware, it's definitely I'm not going to say a waste of money, but you're future proofing without necessarily needing to future proof at that point. At that at that stage, wait until, and I'm using Wi-Fi as an example in this context because it's relevant, right? New wireless protocols come out and things get faster, throughput.
Right.
So having one device on the network, I don't think is enough. Having 3 or 4 it starts to tip into critical mass of like, okay, there are 4 devices that now support the standard or higher. If I upgrade the access point to Wi-Fi 7 support, throughput's going to be better, signal's going to be whatever the values of upgrading that hardware is. But upgrading one gives you so much. Like, for example, I'll make it a bit more relevant. When I got the 2.02 gig speeds, I had on my network like 1 gig switches.
Right.
And even though I don't do a lot of local data transfer, I knew full well that the bottleneck, after having a 2 gig download speed, which is the pipe that comes into the house, I'm like, well, if I'm going to be having these devices connect, back and forth and network back and forth, if I've got 2 gig in, but I've only got 1 gig locally, I'm like, oh, The bottleneck is I need to, since I've got this is the overarching speed that's coming in,
Right.
I need to bump the switches to a 2.5, which is the step is 1 gig, and I think 2.5 up to 10 gig. 10 gig is unobtainium. It's so expensive right now, and I'm like, okay,
That's what Brad has. Brad has.
It's so pricey. So I opted to, at that point when I needed to swap out 2 switches with PoE plus, which I needed. I opted, instead of sticking with the 1 gig, I was like, well, I can't get 2 gig downloads if I'm going through a 1 gig switch. So I upgraded to the 2.5 gig, and then the next step up will be something else. So it took that one massive upgrade that drove the upgrades
For everything else.
in kind. But versus if you upgraded to Wi-Fi 7, but all your devices are still Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, you're not doing anything. Versus having 3 or 4 devices on your network that are Wi-Fi 7 compatible, then I'm like, okay, well then you come in and say, all right, let me give the infrastructure for it. So I think that's the word I would use. It's giving it the infrastructure that it might need for optimal performance. And that is, again, kind of a go by gut. Like, well, if I upgrade from even now Wi-Fi 6 to 6E, I would potentially see a benefit because I do happen to have some Wi-Fi 6E devices on the network. Not enough, not nearly enough to justify that cost upgrade, knowing that within the next theoretical year, 7 is coming. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait for 7 and get the leap because that'll be solid. That'll be a great upgrade when it happens. So I even now with the devices that I have, it's not even close to being in parity. So as close as you can get to parity, if you will, the better off you are. And then it's just a balance or a counterbalance. Does that better explain? Okay.
Yeah.
My methodology when it comes to
it does.
upgrading, whether it's network or hardware or anything in general. You just don't want to waste the money.
Brandon, do you remember those Google AC 1200 hockey puck Nest router things? Yeah. I had those until last year. And the thing that ended up doing it, so I have to have a Nest setup. It's a long story, but on the far end of the not Nest setup, what do you call it when you have multiple routers? Mesh router. Yeah. I have a mesh network, and on the far end of it is where my server is ultimately. Just how it's placed in the house. I don't have a choice. When I was moving data from the server to say this computer here or anything in here, it was taking forever, I think would be the best way to put it. And when that happened, I was like, okay, I can't do this AC 1200 stuff anymore. That's when I stepped up to the amplified mesh router stuff. So it's just when I get frustrated with the lack of speed of sometimes. When I get the 6700K that I'm using for the server, it's a great processor. I never had a problem with it. But when I hit that 32 gig spot, that's when I said, I need more RAM. I have to get something different. When I do, I just go hard.
Yep.
Yeah, go all the way to that i9 and everything.
I just need to get to the place personally to where I'm not wanting to have to exchange, upgrade, whatever you want to call it, graphics cards every 2 years.
Right.
I need to understand better on my end everything that I can do to upgrade or make the PC feel as snappy as it possibly can.
Right.
Whether that be just through memory or upgrade SSDs or networking, right? Because anytime that I feel latency, I feel like, oh God, it's time to do it. Here we go. Let's start over again. And I don't need to be that way.
You don't, but you are.
Yeah.
That 14th gen Intel chipset's coming out next week.
Yeah, I know it is.
No, in all seriousness, I have a 12 series i9. I literally bought that. The 13 series came out the week after I bought the 12.
And I'm not hurting
right.
on the processor side. I have a 5950X, which is 16 cores, 32 threads. It's not like I don't have a powerful processor. I just, again, with me personally, it's that fear of missing out. I think that what gets me more than anything.
Yep. I agree with you.
Chasing that white rabbit whenever it comes to gaming, because I want the frames per second has to be there. And if my monitor can do 120 frames per second,
that card better too.
Right. I better be getting everything that I can out of that.
Gotcha.
For one thing, and we can touch on this at another video because it would take some prep time, but at the network level, what you could also do is DNS caching, and the standard.
I do that.
Well, yeah. So the standard.
I don't even know what that is, so I don't do it.
So I'll get to it, so you'll know what it is here in a second. So the standard ISP stuff that you get, their garbage equipment, as I'll call it, can't do it. Big box routers can't do it. It's usually a PC that you stand up, or a virtual machine, or a little Raspberry Pi. It can be tied in with your Pi-hole, the ad blocker application.
Yeah, Pi-hole. Shut your Pi-hole.
He said Pi-hole.
Pi-hole. Basically what it does is when you go to google.com, your computer doesn't know where google.com is. So it goes out to your ISP or whatever your DNS server is. Typically it's your ISP. Unless you change it to like 8.8.8.8 or 1.1.1.1, something that Google owns.
Google's DNS, yeah.
Google is, 8.8.8.8 and 8.8.4.4. But you can manually set those on your computer. So the response time of saying, I'm going to google.com, your computer says, I don't know what google.com is. So it goes out to that server and says, where's google.com? It gives it the IP address and then sends that IP back to your computer and says, go here. If you cache that information at your house, so it doesn't even have to leave, your internet no longer becomes a bottleneck. It's just, I'm going to google.com. You can reroute that at your router level. It says, well, this computer wants to go to google.com. Where is that? That little Raspberry Pi or computer, virtual machine, whatever, stores that information. So that latency is 0 to 1 millisecond instead of that over the internet lag time of where is that? Server, here's the information, then go to the server. So that'll make things a little bit snappier. It won't speed up the load times of the actual pages. It'll help with that initial snappiness. If you want the pages to actually load faster, then you're getting into actually caching the website. But
caching the entire internet. Yes.
Yeah.
For that DNS though, that would have to be something. Well, you could run it. I think you could do it on your local system. They had that software back in the day. Doing like at least on Windows. I'm not sure that can happen on the router level, at least with any degree of ease.
Not the basic routers. That's why I was saying you could do it with like an old computer. That way you can do multiple things.
I'm not using a basic router. I did spend, a fair amount of money on the router that I have. I'm not using the one that the ISP would provide. I even know better than that.
Very good.
Yeah. Oh, even in my router, well, I'm not using it anymore, but the Ubiquity stuff, it didn't have that as a feature. So not saying that yours doesn't have it, but it's not necessarily built into every router because it's not something that people normally use.
Do you remember what you have, Glitch?
It's an Asus.
Higher end one.
ROG Rapture, I think.
Yeah.
R-E.
Yeah, I know those. They're pretty good. They're pretty snappy.
Yeah. But that's just how that works. So that might be a topic for another day.
Okay.
Fair enough.
For sure.
All right. Glendon, does that cover what you were hoping to get out?
Yeah, I'm good. That's some good conversation and some information that I need to take into consideration on my own.
I'm going to let y'all banter before we pop over to Mike for his topic that he'd like to dive into or you can start it. I just have to hit the restroom because, man.
That beer was good.
This beer was pretty good, too.
Go do your beer. Yeah, we'll wait till he gets back. But in the meantime, that's that fear of missing out. I think you're dead serious on that, Glendon, and I think that's accurate.
Yeah,
I really do. And it's really easy for me. I take my really nice fancy iPad and open up my Credit Karma checking account. I see that it's got 26 cents in it and go, well, not upgrading this week. It's pretty easy for me. Yeah. So that's how I base it. But yeah, I've been needing this i9 since I started doing the Twitch stream, and I needed that extra horsepower for sure.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll just save up to get it. And I slowly collected parts, and then I decided to get a case and just build it. At one point, I was running an i5. The i5 that's running the game stream right now. This now got a 980 in it. I was running that 12 series i5, and it was trying, but it was running 100+% CPU usage just to get everything the way I like it. So it was pretty crazy.
And I know a lot of it has to do with what you've got running in the background too.
Yeah,
on
for sure, on my stuff,
on your system.
Right.
Could be some things that are taxing or taking up processes that shouldn't be.
Right. So I'm doing this stream right now. I'm also, I got another machine off to my left that's running an online radio station live. It's usually pretty maxed out. It's an old i5. And then on this i9, I'm running my Twitch stream as well as doing this right now and other things. And it's sitting at about 52% CPU usage. And on a 24-core i9, that's crazy. It's a lot of power. And no wonder my i5 had the struggle was real. You know, it was, it was crazy. And meanwhile, Brad was rocking a 486 until 2020, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 486.
No, you had...
Did you say a 486?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you were telling me about your old school stuff back in high school, and prior to that quad core. You just ran forever. You said you were on dial-up for the longest time.
Yeah,
a lot longer than average.
Dial-up until 2000 and...
You basically like to run things really hard till they just stop being useful. And then take it up to the next level.
You know, back then I didn't really have a say into when, like, hey parents, upgrade the internet. They're like, why F you? And I'm like, all right, well,
yeah.
I want to play online games and actually do homework within, an hour. That would be great.
Was it Steve Jobs that said all you need is 512K or something like that?
I don't know, but that's not true. That's for sure.
No,
that's certainly not true anymore.
I remember on the original Xbox Live days, people were like, I got a T1. It's like, you don't have a T1.
No, you don't. T1 was $650 a month on the low end, shared with other people at any point in time.
I'm over there. I was actually using the same ISP today that I was back then, and then I would do a speed test. The line quality would be better than a T1, according to like the results that would come back out.
Right.
Because apparently I had a decent DSL connection back in the day. DSL got a bad rep, and a lot of people always complained about it. I'm like,
stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, it's not the fastest thing, but my ping is
super stable.
Ridiculously fast.
Yes. That was my jam back in the day because it was super stable.
So what is your topic tonight, Mike?
I'm just going to talk about... It's going to be about browser extensions, how I use browsers, what extensions I use and why. Kind of open people's eyes into what you can do. I am going to pivot to you at some point. Talk about how you work from home and maybe how you have a dedicated browser just for work versus, other things. So just some hints up there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I use my browsers. I guess we can start talking about it. Basically, I use 4 browsers primarily. Excluding the Tor browser, which is something that I have in case I need it for other things. But I use Chrome as my personal primary browser. Chris, welcome back, sir.
We just started.
We were bantering until you got back.
Mm-hmm.
Was that like a gallon or 2 gallons? Or are you okay, man?
Oh boy, dude! It was like
really good beer.
Very good beer.
Really
We're gonna get that as a T-shirt. It's just got your face on the back, kind of like Steve-O when he's doing this. It's gonna be Chris Brillo's face on the back that says it's a really good beer.
There you go.
It's really good beer. So
to disrupt.
No, Chris, you came in right at the right time. So what I'm talking about tonight, I'm just going to talk about some basic stuff. It's my first time on. I figured I'd keep things simple. I'm going to talk about how I use browsers and the extensions I use and why. So, for example,
Good.
Yeah, so I use Chrome as my personal primary browser. It saves what I needed to save. I, use it for my social media, all that stuff. I use Firefox, as an example, as my vanilla browser. I also use it as my source for my stream. So my stream is captured for my weather stuff over on my Twitch side, and I use a browser to pull in that data. And I use that Firefox for that. So I think that everybody should have a vanilla browser. There's going to be a time when an extension is going to cause a problem, maybe a pop-up blocker, things like that. And so I always have a vanilla browser, mine being Firefox in this choice. I use Brave for everything over here on our stream here, just to keep that segmented. And then I use Edge for work. all my stuff for work. So I work a day job doing a network operations center. I do a night job, different network operations center. So I have 2 profiles on Edge, and then I use those strictly for work and nothing else. And by segmenting and separating all those, I'm able to keep my life somewhat organized. And I think that's a good way to do it. Now, that being said, on Chrome primarily, I have AdBlock Pro. I use uBlock Origin, both as pop-up blockers. I use Dark Reader, which I talked to you about, Chris. Remember Dark Reader? So you can make everything dark on your browser?
Kind of, yeah.
Darkreader.org. I use that because I do not like white backgrounds at all. I'm a dark guy. You can see behind me. This is as lit up as my room gets.
I feel you.
Yeah. My soul is also dark. Yes. No. Also, and then I have a Chat GTP or GPT for Chrome add-on because whenever you do Google searches, it'll actually have a little sidebar and it'll show you additional information through Chat GPT. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I use the new Microsoft editor that they have out. It's a brand new extension they have for browsers. It helps do grammar checks and spell checks and things of that nature. It's working out pretty good. It's part of your Office 365, Microsoft 365 subscription. If you have that, it's a new feature they have. So that's kind of what I do as far as my extensions on my personal stuff. And then I have different things for my work stuff. I do different things for, but my point is I use my browser as to segment everything. And I think that's really an important way to go about doing it. So, Chris, what do you use on a Mac side? You use Chrome primarily, right?
Yeah.
Is that your guy?
Chrome. Yeah. I use the Arc browser on the Mac specifically for the Twitch live.pirillo.com stuff. That's my 24/7 there. But yeah, I use Chrome and I vacillated between all of them. Firefox, I never really got into. I don't use a lot of extensions though. I'm uBlock is my only real extension that I have at this point. Although I guess I don't know how well it works with YouTube, but I pay YouTube to not see ads. Yeah, I use Chrome. It's been fine. It's responsive enough, not maybe as smooth as Safari, but it's a trade-off, right? I just find that, finding something that works well enough I'm fine with. I appreciate the upgrade or the iterative changes that Google makes with Chrome more so than the very few and far between upgrades that Apple makes with Safari. Right. Certainly Safari doesn't have or support the same technologies as Chrome does for whatever reason. For example, I said I used the Arc browser. It allows me to change the theme of a site. So I can make it a dark mode, even if it doesn't ship or give you the option to be dark mode. Right. Arc affords you the opportunity to change the style sheets dynamically between sites, which is great. But my go-to is definitely Chrome. Right now, I'm just using Chrome, but I'm connected by way of a Windows machine, the way that I'm recording this video, specifically with the camera and the microphone connection at the PC. I try, every so often, I'm like, oh, let me give this a shot. Let me see if that works. But ultimately, I keep finding myself falling back to Chrome, though I don't, on the desktop, on the Mac, and even on Windows. I found that Chrome is definitely snappier on Windows than Edge. And I thought the opposite would be true. I thought, Edge is going to be snappy. It's native to Windows. And then I realized when I installed Chrome on Windows, using the connection I was using, Chrome was substantially more responsive and snappier on the Windows machine I was connected to than Edge. Edge was just garbage. I'm like, I dropped Edge immediately. I'm done with Edge. So good on you, Microsoft. Happy you're doing it. But like Chrome, as much as people complain about the bloat, it doesn't bother me, in any way, shape, or form.
Same.
Yeah, I'm pretty much Chrome on that front. Now I also carry an Android. Android is my go-to platform. But with that, I don't know if the I use Chrome as much on the Android device as I use Internet Browser, which is Samsung's Internet Browser on Android. So I don't get the benefits of, you have Chrome on the desktop, send to your mobile, or do this and synchronize here, there, and everything. I don't, because I use Samsung Internet Browser on my Android device because it is more responsive. It's smoother. It's snappier than Chrome on Android. Yeah, that may have improved in recent iterations. I think 1.16 on up on Chrome with Android, but I switched to, I'm using the Samsung Internet Browser Beta. You can too. On any Android device, you can install the Samsung Internet Browser. Most people won't. But it is, for scrolling on Android, by far the smoothest experience that I've ever had.
Love me some smooth scrolling for sure.
So yeah, for Android and scrolling performance and snappiness, Samsung's internet browser really works well. And I don't just say that because I'm using a Samsung device. It works well across the board. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, Google does not optimize for fluidity with Google Chrome on Android. So again, I'd be fine with using Google Chrome on Android if I could have the same experiences I might have on the desktop. And not to say that the smooth scrolling exists on the desktop either, because it doesn't. There's definite judder with Google Chrome on the desktop, on at least on Mac OS, but not enough that it throws me that far out of the loop where I think, oh, I'll just switch over to Safari. So it's a constant back and forth. I just don't necessarily at this point find myself needing to go back to Safari over using Google Chrome on the desktop. So
for me, I use Edge for work. Both of my jobs, I use Edge, and the main reason for that is because I have a lot of Microsoft authentication-based stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for me. I will say that Edge has gotten a lot better than it used to, but it's still, I prefer to use Chrome for my personal stuff. So I'm with you there. You know about being AI being tied into Edge, right? Brad, have you played with AI?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's not, well, so my experience has been pretty minimal, but it's basically a browser-based plugin to keep people using Edge, right?
Gotcha. Well said.
Yeah, it from what I understand is they've been supposed to be rolling out features like if you downloaded or opened a PDF in the browser where you could have the AI scan that PDF, and then you can ask questions in real time. I have not gotten that to work. Some people have. I don't know how. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. But I do know that AI is built in to not only help generate better search results or just give you the information that you're looking for.
Gotcha.
But I'm more familiar with their Microsoft DALL-E, which is the image generator.
Yeah. DALL-E is taken from OpenAI.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
So I've had limited experience. I know it exists. I have not really gotten it to function the way I expected it to work.
Mm-hmm.
It does not function as well as ChatGPT standalone did. But it's been several months since I've touched it, so
it might be making improvements.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Glendon, what browsers do you like to use and extensions, etc.?
Chrome primarily.
Yeah.
Basically on the PC, it's exclusive to Chrome. I've tried to use others. I'm not a fan of Edge. I've tried Opera.
Yeah.
Opera seems okay. It seems very gimmicky to me though.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're really, especially with like, what is it? The GX, which is geared towards more gaming and streaming and.
Right. It's supposed to be graphics intensive or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I don't like the UI of it.
Yeah.
It seems excessive.
Well, and Opera has that built-in VPN too, right?
Right. Yeah, and they try to force feed you crap that I don't want. There's
like
a lot
VPN.
of bloatware. Yeah, that's.
Opera provides a free VPN, and if the VPN is free, then you have to realize something is not quite right. I'll just put it there.
Yeah.
You end up being the not just the consumer of that, but your data is also being monitored. So
yeah,
right.
Even on the Mac, because I have a Mac also, I use Chrome primarily.
Yeah,
just because I can sync Chrome across every device that I have. I do use, for some reason, on my iPad Pro, I use Safari more than I do Chrome. But on the Mac,
but the iPad, the iPad definitely has a better native integration with Safari than I feel Mac OS does, to be fair.
Yeah, right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's why I use it on the iPad. But anything else, even on my phone, I use Chrome as opposed to Safari. on my new iPhone, just because of the fact that I like everything to be synced up
Yeah, same.
for use. Now, as far as extensions go, I really only use one. I don't even use an ad blocker. I probably should be.
Really?
Right.
That's
But-
shocking.
Especially with the
Yeah.
amount of porn that Glendon watches. I'm
I
sure.
know. Crazy
Let me tell you.
amounts. Copious amounts. But it's master volume.
Oh
I've
yeah.
never used it. I
I-
love it because you can control the volume and sound on every Chrome tab individually.
Yes.
I think I've heard of this. If I
Krusty's
think-
the one that turned me on to it several months back, probably even a
Is
year
it,
or so.
is it Volume Master?
Yes, Volume Master.
Volume Master. Gotcha. I just checked it out. I'm
Yeah.
going to add that. Yeah. That's cool. That's good to
And
know.
it's super easy to use. I mean, all you do is go up to the top of the page, hit the extension drop down
Mhm.
menu, choose Volume Master, and for that page, it gives you a volume meter that you can manually adjust using a slider. You can mute it, whatever you want to do. But
Now, you realize I use a browser to as my source for my Twitch stream, so I've been needing this for a long time,
Yeah.
actually.
well,
This
the
would be
reason
great.
that I started doing it and using it was because of MakerDeck. Whenever we have to monitor that, I don't want to have to hear that music all the
Blurpy
time.
music.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I can
yeah.
turn it
Right.
down, and you can still hear the chime come through
It's chiptune.
to notify you whenever somebody needs to come in through StreamYard. You know,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
you know how you get that little notification, the little
Look,
blurp, whatever it is.
I wouldn't know.
Link.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I know.
But to me, I'm lost without it now. I couldn't imagine not even having it. It's not as bad now that I have a mixer to where I can adjust each one of those individually.
Mhm.
But it's for ease of use. Volume Master,
Volume Master. I'm going to check that out for sure.
Is that paid or free or?
free.
It looks free. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Yeah, all right. I'm glad I learned something new about that because there's always a continuous search for me to find better extensions, better browsers, better anything. I'll give anything a try once and then usually toss it because I don't like something about it, like Opera,
Yep.
for example. Yeah,
Same way.
I'd
Exactly
never
right.
used any extensions until Volume Master.
that's awesome. And it's
Nothing.
got a small footprint. It doesn't use a lot of
Yeah,
RAM
no,
or
it's
anything.
nothing. It's minuscule. Is there any? Well, it's not. Is there any? Are there any extensions that you would recommend using on Chrome if I'm not?
uBlock is the only one that I can think of. That's the only one that I think I have actively on my Chrome. I mean, and who knows what's going to happen when Manifest V3 comes out? Like, I'm a little worried about that, quite honestly.
uBlock Origin. I'll have to second
Sorry,
that.
yeah, uBlock Origin. If I didn't clarify that for sure.
And then I use AdBlock Pro as a secondary. And right now there's a big fight going on between YouTube and AdBlock Pro. So if you don't pay for it, then you have all kinds
Which
of
I do
pop-ups
pay
happening.
for YouTube because I didn't want the ads anyway. I'm on YouTube Premium. But
Oh, right on. That's cool. Yeah, but outside of that, Dark Reader for me because I like everything low light. So
I take
Dark
that
Reader.
back. I think I do have that. There is one extension that I have.
Yeah,
on the
Dark Reader's
PC
amazing.
anyway,
Mhm.
because on Windows it's still horrible trying to get dark mode to work across everything, and I froze myself up.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Just a second.
Look at that.
No,
Too
It's
many,
all right. I won't go
20
anywhere.
thumbs up.
no, but you have to like drop out and come back in. Maybe. Oh God, how's this gonna work?
No.
Mm.
The calamity of it all.
Here, I can fix it without dropping out.
How are you
Yes.
gonna fix it without
He's-
dropping out?
Glendon is magic.
He's
Yeah,
gonna
see?
crash. He's crashed at this point. He's like basically blue screened.
I mean, if he's doing a thumbs up the entire show, that's fine too.
Yeah,
That's cool.
like,
Yeah. What do you think, Glendon? He's got a thumbs up. Yeah, that's great.
Give a thumbs up if you agree.
How do you like that printer, Glendon? Yeah, look, he loves it. Modern technology and live streaming. What a great deal.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, Toxic, you have further thoughts on this. I mean, it's a race that never ends. Like it's always like looking for that which gives you the edge, whatever the edge, not to say Microsoft Edge, but like the edge on what you happen to be using at any given time. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm pretty plain Jane over here. It's mostly Chrome all across the board. Work, personal computers. If I install anything or set up my parents' computer, it's Chrome default. Even with ad blockers, they don't do a lot of YouTube on their phone or on their computer. They don't even really do a lot of YouTube in general. So ad blockers are perfect for them. I don't really run many extra features. I used to do AdBlock Plus, but when there was the whole YouTube thing, I took that down. And
fair.
I have it set up. I just haven't, since I switched my router out to the 2 gig internet speeds to 10 gig internal networking. I have not reconfigured my Pi-hole yet. So
yeah, Pi-hole.
Yeah. I need to.
You said Pi-hole.
Get that done. Yeah, I need to get that done.
Do you do the ad blocking at the DNS level, or I'm sorry, at the router level, or not?
No,
so that is a feature. Okay,
I do. I do.
Okay, I knew someone here did. Yeah,
but I also do it locally, right? I do it both, both ways.
Yeah, it's a lot of data that goes in and out. I mean, your web page material is probably not even a third of realistically all the data that's getting loaded when you go onto a website anymore.
Yep.
But slightly off topic, one thing that just came to mind while we were talking about different browsers and plugins, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Growing up in elementary school and later into junior high, the school I was in, they switched over to, well, I guess they adopted Macintosh as their standard deployment, and they installed Netscape by default, and that was a name that just came to mind. I have not thought of Netscape. What was the actual?
I still have Netscape installed.
Do you?
What?
Yep.
It was
completely worthless.
End of life since 2008, but it was Netscape Navigator, and I remember because again the school, like we would go to the library and there would be a couple Emacs, not iMacs, but the Emacs. They were the all white machines.
Yep.
God,
and
those were awful.
We would go in and they'd have Netscape Navigator, and I'm sure the school was like on a 5 meg connection or whatever. So when you were doing like online things, it was cool because it had like the little animated like N with like the little loading screen thing. It's like you can sit there waiting for your webpage to load while you get to watch that little icon.
Yep. Been there.
But anyway, just a little blast from the past.
I have, just for kicks, I have Netscape Navigator 9.0.0.6 installed right now. Yeah, it doesn't
still work.
Only if you use old websites.
I was gonna say,
it doesn't. It errors out a lot initially. It still goes to the netscape.aol.com or whatever it was, the home screen.
Oh.
Yeah, it's. But I have it on there just to have it at that point. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had, Chris. Is just about the browsers and the extensions. I always am on a quest to find better extensions.
Well,
if we run across a new one, I want to know about it.
Trust me, as generic as the topic seems, like a lot of people are probably very interested and would want to talk about it.
Right.
Ad infinitum. Wait, is Glendon frozen again, or is he just not moving?
He's
just chilling. Just chilling.
Really still.
Like, are you like hunting your prey? Is like, are you ready to pounce? Is that what's going on here?
Yep.
Was it the thumbs up that locked you?
Yeah, it does
do it again.
My OBS. Nope. It does it because of the what do you call it, Chris?
Reactions.
Mac OS, reactions.
Reactions, I think is what it is.
It screws up my OBS.
Really?
Yeah.
No bueno. No more thumbs up for you.
No.
Well, I'm glad you're unfrozen. I'm sure the editors will figure out like how to route around all that nonsense.
Editing.
Thank you, Mike.
They'll fix it in post.
Thank you.
They fix everything in post. All right, Toxic.
Fix it
I think
post.
you're the last to bring up a topic of conversation
Yes.
for the night.
So-
What do you want to throw out there on the virtual table?
So tonight I wanted to talk about the general interactions that you guys have had in regards to AI. And I'm not specifically talking about art creation, generation, that kind of thing. I'm talking about the people that you're interacting with in public, whether it be friends, family that don't know about it, that are hearing it through the grapevine, through news or friends of friends, whatever it may be. And there are certain people out there that are absolutely scared of how AI is going to be potentially taking over, as it will.
Oh, yeah.
So to kind of premise this, I have some family friends, and we were sitting around a campfire one night, weeks and weeks ago, and they were kind of expressing like how concerned they were, how it was going to not only take over jobs, but it could, cause security risks, or, they can use it for robocalling or whatever it may be. Like, they were just very ramped up about how bad this was going to be, of a deployment, I should say, right? Hitting the internet and how the tool can be used.
He took our jobs.
Exactly, right? There's going to be a change in some way, shape, or form. So the way that I kind of brought them back down, and I said, okay, well, let's take a step back, breathe a little bit, like it's okay, it's all going to be okay. But I kind of premised it as, look at AI as a tool. It's not there to replace us as a whole. It's there to aid us in certain things. I work in the healthcare industry, so I said, it could be something as simple as research and development. Think of it as somebody that's working very fast, can work 24/7, 365. Could be drug development. It could be cancer research. It could be whatever it may be. Those tools can be utilized and targeted towards specific things, therefore aiding us in the development of things. On top of that, right, we've got the fear of job replacement. And yes, it will have an impact within certain industries. One that we have already started to see and is going to continue to get hit by is customer service. And we've talked about this on live stream, again, a long time ago. But the biggest one that I see is call wait times. Like, if I'm calling a company and I'm waiting, and let's say it's a Black Friday thing and my order got screwed up, I have to call them to get this fixed. Now, this might be a couple of years old. There's online chat and stuff, but there are delays, right? If you're reaching out to somebody and your wait time is 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it may be, you're waiting for somebody to answer your phone call, your instant message, your email, whatever it may be, for them to then help you and then to get you through that process to get whatever it is fixed. If AI can be eventually trained to replace that, yes, there will be an impact of lost jobs. But the advantage is that the overall customer experience can improve, but then it's still going to open up another sector in the tech industry to increase jobs. So again, premising this, I was sitting around the campfire and I said, we're kind of going through a technical focused or an IT focused industrial revolution. When the car kind of first came out, there was a lot of unknowns. There was a lot of scare tactics, gasoline and you can explode, that kind of thing.
What are we going to do with all these horses?
Exactly, right. Horse and buggies, that kind of thing, right? But I mean, that's kind of, and it's a very crude example, but that's kind of what we're going through.
Right.
It's a very dramatic, quick shift in the industry that this tool can be applied many, many different ways. It's very dynamic. And if people see it as a threat, they can perceive it as such. But if they then can see it as a tool and to aid us, not necessarily focus on the bad of the, again, lost jobs or whatever it may be, it's going to open up jobs that don't even exist today. It's going to create things. So, anyway, that's just kind of a premise of what I wanted to bring to the table. But just the general topics, like if you guys run into people that have had those concerns, and if so, what were they, if they were different than mine, and What did you guys talk
So
about?
I guess I haven't, honestly, beyond the echo chambers of technologists talking about AI and the impact in ChatGPT and Midjourney and all that, I haven't heard much beyond that. LinkedIn is a horrible sample because the entire quote unquote jobs industry obviously knows about AI coming down the pike in these transformative changes, but I just don't think it's impacting quote unquote the average person who might be interested in an iPhone as much as it is the people who are more career minded or thinking or trying to stay ahead of trends. So I put it squarely within the realm of very and this is not to water down its weight in what you're saying, like being very impactful, but I just don't. My dad hasn't asked about it yet. My mom hasn't brought it up. Like in the average conversation, you just don't hear about it. So as opposed to hearing about an iPhone or Google or these common brands, I'm not sure that's where it's going to come into play. I think where it's going to come into play is when someone who does understand what quote unquote AI is or pattern recognition, whatever you want to call it, as it is integrated within a tool that they might already be using. That's when it has an impact. When it's baked into Word or when it's baked into product X or service Y, that's when I feel most people are going to use it without realizing that they're using it. And I think that's where quote unquote AI is really going to take hold, when it is attached to, whether we're talking overarching platforms like Android, iOS, Mac OS, like these platforms that can take advantage of generative AI, let's say, it's seamless for the person that isn't necessarily thinking AI taking over jobs. No, they're not even close to thinking that. They're worried about their jobs, certainly, but to know that they could go to a website and crank something out instantaneously, I think would blow their minds, certainly, but I don't think that's where their minds are now. At least, and I don't have the amazingly deep conversations. I think the closest I would think about is when I go to one of the grocery stores I shop at and get manager specials. There's a guy who is very excited about fruits and vegetables and giving sales. He's amazing. I love the guy, and I hope he's there forever. Genuinely, he's a funny guy. I give you a deal. He's from Poland. He's got this thick accent. I give you a deal. Awesome. No, it's just for you. I do it just now. It did right here.
Nice.
Potato? You do potato? I mean, he's selling onion or make a soup, nice soup. He'll have a soup, mushroom. I give you a good mushroom deal. Like I swear to God, he's a personality, like a personality that you would expect like on a television show, right? He's not asking about it. He's like, what do you think about OpenAI? What do you think about, I sound Italian, he's Polish. What do you think? You use it, what does it do? How does it work? How do they do that? It's magic. It's when that, when conversations that I might have with him are around the topic, then I feel it's hit mainstream, but I'm not sure we're going to get that far with it, quite honestly. I'm not sure we're there.
I'll tell you.
Good, Mike.
I was just going to say, my roommate is a courier. He does medical, pharmaceutical deliveries and things of that nature. Anything from car parts, flowers, everything like that. And he's becoming concerned, not too concerned, but he says not in his lifetime, but he's worried about the self-driving car aspect of the idea. So that I think more people are more fearful of what's directly affecting their jobs than what's going to actually happen in regards to real AI.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even, so going back to my example, it's not even just the service industry as, people picking up the phone, calling online support.
Right.
There's been several different restaurants that have gone to using a voice AI kind of bot for the drive-thrus. So that way they can just have somebody taking the payments. But then when you pull up, it says, it sounds like a person, but, they'll just say, hey, what would you like? Welcome to whatever restaurant. I know Wendy's has done it. White Castle's done it.
Really?
I think Del Taco, Carl's Jr., let's see, Wendy's, IHOP, like a bunch of them have tried this, and it's not everywhere, of course. But the fact is that they're trying it. And with COVID, a lot of the fast food industry saw obviously an uptick in drive-through for obvious reasons.
Right.
But they've realized that they can be more profitable with just drive-throughs. Mm-hmm. So the new concept is also now coming down to, well, maybe we won't have just, let's say, a Taco Bell and a Wendy's. Maybe they'll have like 2 or 3 locations out of one that can have just one big kitchen. Obviously, they won't mix brands, but, Yum brands.
Wait,
Pizza Hut.
Is this the, I'm at the Pizza Hut, I'm at the Taco Bell, I'm at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell?
That's pretty much it.
Right, okay.
So, Yum.
Hey,
yeah.
I understood the reference, people.
It's gonna be in my head now.
Grandpa Chris, congratulations.
I'm serious. I'll be walking out. I'm at the Pizza Hut. I'm at the Taco Bell. I'm at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco. I don't know why.
And you need to not.
I blame. There's Mandatorian is her name. She's a cosplayer. She does costumes and did jewelry a while back. Worked for Lucasfilm, and she did a little TikTok style video posted to Twitter. And that's how I found out about that. So I'm like, this is a thing. Like. Okay, I get it. I understand. So,
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Not to interrupt your flow, but apparently it's an old thing that I totally missed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but that's the idea, right? Yum Brands owns a blanket of different companies, so you could have one brick and mortar location with 2 or 3 restaurants in it. Literally just a couple cooks, maybe. It could be as simple as just technicians, where everything could be robotic in a way. And you pull up and you say, here's what I want. And then the robots can make the order. They can package it up. And then here, your food comes out of this little window. You pay and you leave.
Did you ever watch that X-Files? The X-Files episode where it's all automated. It's one of the newer ones. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like the idea, right? Is that it's not just service industry. It can be a broader spectrum of service industry is what I'll say. Yeah. It's, it could be fast food, a bunch of other things. Sure. So I'm not saying that, I don't think any of us are. It's not going to wipe all of us out, right? Even in the cybersecurity world, you still have to have that human element to make sure that it's all correct.
Well, for now, although, I would say social engineering is, it could go through the roof at this point with pattern recognition, right? It's easy to cheat in that sense.
You'll still have to have a few people that maintain the AI, though. So,
yeah. Well, in my focus more towards the cybersecurity would be the company's side, whether it be vetting new software and kind of understanding what the vulnerabilities may be, that kind of aspect. Not so much the attacker side, which any tool can always be manipulated for good or bad.
True story.
But there, that's kind of just where I kind of see some. I wouldn't say immediate adjustments, but we will see within the next 5-10 years, at least within certain test markets, where there might be fully automated brick and mortar machine or locations that might only have 1 or 2 people there, and they might just be cleaning the grill or making sure everything's functioning correctly. And they're going to be more of a technician. That technician doesn't even really exist today. So. Anyway,
Lyndon, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, mostly Mike hit on it. The whole situation where his roommate says, I don't think it's going to affect us now, but like the next generation. Mm-hmm. My dad, he's asked a little bit about AI, and I had to, talk him off the ledge and tell him, it's kind of like toxic, that it's not here to take our jobs. It's a tool to aid you throughout processes. You're still going to need to tweak some things. It's not perfect. It's not going to give you a perfect answer or give you a perfect format, but it gives you a foundation to build upon, most certainly. His big thing is he's afraid that my kids, especially my daughter, because she's still in school, he's afraid that there's not going to be jobs out there for her. And again, it's not to that point yet. And for sure, there's going to be industries that take a hit more so than others.
Right.
Well,
But-
the white collar, like data, very cognitive load intensive, not middle management, but like very time intensive tasks. I feel that's where it's going to make the deepest impact. Not to like derail where you were going with, but I definitely wanted to assert
Like the database guy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean all that stuff.
Spreadsheet guy.
And this may be where you were going, Glendon, but like that's the automated, the things that can be automated will be automated. And I think that's across the board. That's not just AI or pattern recognition, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Pattern recognition to flesh that out. Full thought. Anything that can be automated will be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're going to even see it in coding. We're already seeing it in coding.
Easily.
So it's the thing that can easily be automated, like you're saying, is going to be the first ones that are phased out, or the first ones that you're going to see the AI really come through and disrupt the entire scene. Because why? It's cost effective.
Exactly.
Why would I pay someone to do the same exact thing with a higher chance of, mistakes or failure, as opposed to have this piece of software and hardware here? They can do the same thing for me at 3 times the speed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
That's it's something that the industry or industries are going to have to wrestle with sooner rather than later. So it may not be a mainstream thing, and it may be slipstreamed, if you will, or into existing software that we may already be using. But the transformative nature of what is happening cannot be understated. And you may be training for a job that I'm not going to say isn't going to exist, but is going to exist in a different incarnation of its current self at some point in the near future. I think that's inevitable. But that's the thing. That's the advancement of technology. That's how technology works. You can't.
It's going to happen.
No, it's going
Just
to
like
happen.
Mike made the reference
Matter
with
of
the
time.
horses and the cars and
Gonna
the
happen.
trucks and the trains. And in the restaurant industry is also a lot of times the first, or the service industry in general, not just restaurants, but they're usually the guinea pigs whenever it comes to stuff like this.
Correct.
Usually anything that's something they can come along and cut costs and cut corners here and cut corners there, but still maintain the same kind of quality and the service that you're looking for at a far cheaper price, they're going to try, right? So I had a background in business, and for a fair amount of time was the restaurant industry. And before I left, automation was already well into play. And this was on the better part of 10 years ago now.
Right.
Okay. So for example, Little Caesars is out there. They were really brought back into the forefront with the $5 pizzas. It's no longer $5 because of inflation, whatever.
Right.
But the biggest complaint that they had was quality and consistency. You would go and that's the biggest problem with any restaurant,
right?
Is quality and consistency. They have automated saucing the pizzas.
Cool.
They have automated putting cheese on the pizzas, and they have now automated even putting toppings on there, like the pepperoni. They will. Before I left, we got to test. As a district manager, we went to these conferences, and they had a machine that would take slabs of pepperoni and slice 20 of them at a time, and it would just fall directly onto the pizza exactly where it was supposed to be, same place every time.
Nice.
You take your tray, and it still needed humans to do this, but you can see where it's heading.
Sure.
But it's a program. It's a piece of software. We had to have a technician come in and then you had these kids that were there, and they were like, "Why do I sauce a pizza now? We use a ladle." Well, they were used to pushing a button. You know, it
Right.
was all
Right.
automated.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, whenever something was down, there was a board in there. It had a, you know, and it was coded, and you had to repair it just like any other piece of computer equipment or hardware.
Right.
So I feel that that's going to happen first. Like Brad said, I agree with you 100%.
Mhm.
That's going to be the industry that you see the change in most recent, or in the most recent area, or in the near future rather. As far as AI goes.
I think that something major will be a pushover. Here's a perfect example: automated airlines. So you have no pilots anymore.
Well, that's
Automatic
coming.
Right. When something like that happens, there's going to be some type of weird protest or backlash.
Yeah.
Pushback on that. You know, stuff like that. I think it's when it's going to.
So I
Stress
agree
it.
that there's going to be more automation and that kind of thing, but with the liability of souls on board in that specific scenario, I always
Right.
feel like there's going to be human backup. Like
Yeah.
still somebody behind,
At least in our
monitoring
lifetime.
everything. So that way, if they're correct, yeah. So that way, if there is something that goes wrong or whatever, you still have somebody there to intervene.
Right. I'm with you.
And yeah, and kind of touching what Glendon was just talking about as far as productivity, workplace productivity, it also comes down to safety. I believe it was White Castle that started a robotics AI kind of deal, and it manages all their fryers because that's one of the biggest issues with workplace.
Yeah, that's huge for insurance.
So the fryers are all still the same. There's like a shield behind it, and this robot can, drop the fries, chicken, whatever it may be, into the fryer. It can grab empty baskets, move it over to where the freezer is, and the freezer, all the humans have to do is just dump the bags of material in, whether it be fries or chicken nuggets or whatever.
Right.
Dispenses the correct amount. The robotic arm grabs it, and then puts it in the oil, and it's all basically self-contained, and people can intervene if needed. But it's taking that safety element back into play. People aren't going to get injured on the job,
Burned or anything. Yeah.
exactly. So
That's cool.
So, like, again, it's slipstreamed. It's brought in not necessarily as something new, another tool in a belt, but integrated within existing infrastructure or needs or use cases, and done in such a way that it's able to, and I think this is to Glendon's earlier point, save money. And that's what, like it or not, that's what businesses do. They generate profit. To generate profit, you have to be able to minimize your cost. To minimize costs, you have to eliminate your highest costs.
Right.
The highest costs, more often than not, are people.
right.
I mean, labor, right? You're the people that are on the ground, they're getting paid hourly to do these things. So if you could save millions, if not billions of dollars a year by going through automated processes, this is where it gets interesting, right? This is where I feel it's deeper than I think where you were going with this, Brad. But if and when we come to a point where not everything is automated, but if you can't even get a job anymore because technology has basically supplanted you, what are you going to do? Like, yeah, okay, so now company X laid off 1,000 people because AI can do the work of those people in cost a fraction. Okay, it's great. Where do those 1,000 people go? Well, they go over here. Well, what if they go over here, but that company has optimized a process such that, well, we don't need people because your skill sets don't matter anymore. Now, we can handle with technology and AI. Where are they going to go?
Right.
Where are the jobs? Yeah. Well, low-paying job. You can get a job. You can get a job at Walmart as a greeter or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but at what point does that even need to exist? When technology is viewing this or doing that or self-checkout or this, that, and the other thing. Like, where do you go? Where are the jobs? They're not there anymore. And this is where I feel that's where it gets scary, because when you displace, or I'll say this, I'm going to try to make an analogy, and pardon me, I'm going to tilt into this without fully fleshing it out. But it's like you've got I better be careful how I do this. I'm just going to hold it with the can. You've got water, right? And this is the amount of jobs that you've got. But then you drop something in the water gets displaced. Where does the water go?
Right.
But this
Same
is
idea.
the amount of jobs. But you keep putting rocks in there, and all the water, the people get displaced. Where are they going to go?
Right.
Because you keep filling the glass or the cup with rocks to displace the water. But hey, it's the same volume. It's being same space is maintained. The water fills at the top. It's the same, but it's those rocks that have displaced. Where's the water go? That is.
You're going to have a complete economical crash.
At this
I don't know.
point, I'm not an economist. I don't see it happening any other way because it's not. Technology's not going to slow down. Automation is not going to slow down. Economics aren't going to be such that, well, we can afford a few extra people. It's going to cost, an extra $10,000, a day, but we can handle it. Don't worry.
Yeah, they're not going to do it just with the kindness of their heart.
It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So it's not tenable. I'm going
to touch on that. So, and we're going to leave politics out of this because that's not where this conversation is going.
Right.
But currently, when COVID hit, and there were people that were designated as what do they call them? Essential workers.
Sure.
Fast food was still an essential thing. You had all the strikes with people demanding more and more money, hazard pay, that kind of deal. We'll leave it at that. Get it. Big companies like McDonald's, to your point, Chris, they're willing to spend money to then in the long term save money. So in 2020, McDonald's actually went out and spent $6 billion and to revamp some of their stores and invest in the touchscreen that you walk into every McDonald's now. There's multiple kiosks. You don't even see people at the counter anymore.
Right.
The idea is that, well, if we're going to have to pay, let's say we've got 10 people on a shift and the average person's making $8 or $9 an hour. And then all of a sudden they're wanting more money. Well, the easiest way is going to scale back the workforce. How can we become more efficient within the kitchen or within the brick and mortar location? Well, the idea is you get rid of people so that you can pay everybody else a little bit more. And then you invest in things that can replace the people that theoretically can be redundant or whatever you want to call them. And so in a way, you kind of kick yourself because, yeah, you're making more money, but long term, your job could be phased out. So you're right. Yeah. I mean, the companies as a whole, they want to make money. And even if they're going to save money in the long term, again, using this idea that maybe one or two people are in this brick and mortar location and everything's automated, you go up and AI's handling your food order and you drive up and scan your credit card, you leave. The costs aren't going to be going to you, right? The savings, I should say. They're just going to be raking in the cash saying, well, we're more profitable this way.
Right.
But where do you get the money to pay for the things that you can't buy because you don't have a job? So this is what I'm saying. It's like, it's ponderous. Like, where is it? It's going to be a collapse. And if it's not, I'm not an economist. I can't predict anything, but I'm saying just think about this, people. If you can't earn money anywhere because you can't get jobs because everything's been automated and optimized, and you're no longer needed to be able to perform a task as menial or as complex as it might be, how are you going to pay? How are you going to spend money on an optimized process? It's great for the company and the shareholders, but how are you going to become a shareholder? You don't got the money to invest.
Now, to counter your argument, here's what I have to say. Out of that 1,000 people in your example, still 100 of them or so will still be needed to monitor the AI or maintain the AI or something.
But that's a fraction. But
it is. Fortunately, it's a fraction. That's the problem.
Right? That's right. You don't need. I don't know how many people run in a fast food restaurant. Glendon can probably speak to this. How many people would you have on staff at a typical restaurant, Glendon?
At a typical, like per shift or just in general?
Per shift. Say per shift. 20?
20?
20? Okay.
To 30.
So let's say 20 to 30, right? But let's say there was a way to make it such that instead of needing to hire a cook or a dishwasher or, a copious amounts of servers and a host, you could slice that in half. Where are those 10 people going to go? it adds up. It's not just one restaurant. It's
Right.
every restaurant the world over. And that's how
because if
technology
it works
works.
for one, then they're all going to do it.
This is what I'm
and
saying.
adopt it.
This is not
Sure.
just the transition of going from, and if pardon my knocking the mic there, going from an analog sheet of paper that, the guest check, where you're like, okay, 2 eggs over easy, bacon, someone writing down. It's not a matter of the transition between that and a digital kiosk. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about moving from a digital kiosk to something more digital, not needing the human to intervene at any point in time. You can walk into some restaurants now and there's no wait staff. Like, you don't need it. You type it. This is what I want. Boom, done.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. So it is reasonable to posit that at some point, what we require now for the operations at any particular location, restaurant, abstract restaurant to just business, can get cut in half, like just sliced in half. And where do where does the half go? Do they go to the other restaurant that's sliced in half? Do they go to a job that no longer
They're going to do it too.
Do they get what do they get retrained in? Like, what is? It is. This honestly probably the scariest prospect. As much as I love the advancement of technology, because we are effing with systems that haven't been effed with at this level. And when we're talking about money, we're talking about not just cost of living, but just living in general, like paying the bill, making ends meet. And it's already on the precipice of being a disaster of beyond epic proportions. And that's only going to get worse. It's going to accelerate. So I agree. The sky is falling. I'm telling you, game it out, people.
Right.
This is amazing technology, astounding technology. And you don't realize it's there until it's there. You don't realize the creature comforts you have today until they are there. Pardon me for taking somewhat of a backwards leap here, or a tangent. When I was growing up, to cook food, you had to go to the oven or the stove, right? You made it on the stove. You went to the oven, you heated it up. Then the microwave came around. And suddenly, it was faster. And it was better. Why use the oven? You could just use the microwave. The same thing's going to happen. That's the advancement of technology. You don't see it until it's too late. And when it's too late, if there's no model around it and you can't accommodate, let's say, the human factor in it, and it won't. Technology is not going to accommodate there's no, I don't believe, an ethical AI company going, well, we want to release it, but, it might, keep people from getting jobs. No one's doing that.
If you're not first, you're last.
That's not where the money is. The money is being more efficient. And that's not going to change. So yeah, I tend to be a bit, I know there are people that I know, and I should pull these people on the show too, who are a little more bullish on the idea. And I think this would actually be a really good debate. I'll get Bob Duffy, who's still at Intel, because he's got some thoughts on this matter as well.
Right
I tend to be more on the let's walk into this understanding we are going to blow things up. We don't know what's going to blow up or what the collateral damage is going to be. And that's where I feel we are. I don't think there are enough people thinking through what's going to happen with the human factor. And retraining is too nebulous. It's hand waving. Well, people can be retrained. Really? Really? You sure about that? Retrain for what? Jobs that exist. But if you're talking about, okay, there are 10 jobs available, but 100 people trying to get those jobs.
It's the ratio. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
It's disaster. So yeah, I'm a lot more on this front liberal with my concerns, conservative with how I feel I would want to see it play out. And I just know it's
not going to go the way you want it to. That's for sure.
It is not. And I'm concerned, if only for my immediate future, but certainly for my daughters. Like, what does it mean?
Correct.
What is she going to do? Where is she going to go? How does that add up? Right. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I don't want to belabor.
I mean, that you basically expanded on one of my first points was, it's going to close down or shrink some skilled jobs currently, but it's going to open up others. But what are they? And we don't know what that is.
And what's that ratio?
What's it going to be?
Yeah, but what's it going to open? That's my question.
Right.
Where are you going to go? What's it going to do? What? You're replacing what is getting replaced are the mundane tasks, The mundane cooking, task done, like taken care of. Even serving to a certain degree, taken care of. It's automated. You come and pick up the tray. You don't need to hire a server. Done. Jobs eliminated. Where are they going to go? How much lower can they go? Right? You're going to see, certain industries already flailing, right? Whether you're talking energy, right? You don't need human beings. Every company, to protect the bottom line, is going to eliminate the highest cost. And the highest cost, more often than not,
is me.
Human factor.
Well, it's labor. It's humans. It's people. So how much are they going to eliminate before even to a certain degree, like to use the example you brought up, DALL-E, right? The OpenAI's image generating tool, or Midjourney, or any one of these tools.
Right.
I could hire, and I did, and I don't want to slag the person I hired to generate emoji for the Twitch channel, right? It was great. I spent hundreds of dollars on emoji because I want this. I think it was great. Cost $800 to get custom emoji. It was expensive, very expensive. But I'm like, people are going to use it. It's a nice graphic. No one uses it these days. I basically pissed the money away. But now, an AI tool, I'll be honest, people just don't use the emoji. They don't. Nope. They did, but now they don't. So it was worth the money. Absolutely. The graphic designer, on point, have zero qualms, zero reservations in recommending him. However, had there been what I think the website is emojis.ch. It's either emojis or emoji.ca. Either, I can't remember if it's plural or singular. Gotcha. But you can go to this place, and thank you for is that Mike? I can hear your keyboard getting hacked away there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I can go to the website. It generates an emoji. It would have worked well enough. I'd have been happy. I'd been satisfied. It was free. So I can eliminate an $800 cost just personally to be able to get something out of it that was worth more than what I wanted to put into it. I wouldn't have felt bad about that at all. No one, I think, would have been, upset. That it was generated. I'm sure artists are, but it's a matter of economics. Do I spend the $800 on emoji or do it for free? What is are people going to get that much more use out of it for $800, or is free working well enough? It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but does it work well enough? Yeah. And we're finding that.
It would have been a completely, just an easy answer for you 2 years ago.
Easily.
If this was around.
Easily.
There would have been no thought process needed. It's either this or I pay $800 for that. Well, this
I'd have done
is fine.
I'd have done it easily, in a heartbeat. I'd have figured it out. I'd have done it. It worked well enough. And so the quote unquote AI, or the technology, doesn't have to be perfect to stick the landing. And when it displaces enough water, let's say graphic designers, that's when it starts to pinch. You may need one graphic designer instead of 20. That's where you start to feel the pinch, where the other graphic designers go, they get retrained. For what? Pumping gas? Flipping burgers? Product management? Like, if everybody's a product manager, who's doing anything else? Like, it's not, it doesn't scale in that direction. It just does not scale. So I feel the answer of people can be retrained is, and I feel the appropriate phrase is red herring. Like, it's like, don't look over here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain retraining. Like, it doesn't, something still doesn't sit right with me. Something doesn't sit well with me on that front at all.
No, I agree.
But that's me. And I hope that's where you're going with the conversation, Brad, because I've got my thoughts on ethics and AI and job displacement and what have you. And
yeah, no, I agree. That's kind of, again, going back to my initial statement, is that it's going to shrink a certain market. It's going to grow something else. We don't know what that is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to migrate to that, especially overnight. It's going to take time.
Yep.
And we don't know what those new jobs or new industries may be.
Some of it, like we said, will be maintaining the AI, but not a lot. It's a 10% tops, I think.
Fraction.
I think it's a very small, very, very small fraction. Absolutely.
Fraction. Mm-hmm. Absolute fraction. So, any other expansion on that? Or, I know I've said my piece. I don't want to talk over anybody else, and I feel that everybody's said what they wanted to say on that front. Am I wrong?
No. Good.
I think we got it. Brad, did you have anything else?
That was it. I just wanted to, kind of shared where I have had conversations with family members and
I
people
and Brad, I mean, not to table, but I'd like to come back to this because I think there's more to talk about. I'm very
100%.
I'm interested. I'm fascinated. I'm scared. All in one. I'll see if I can grab Bob Duffy from Intel, a colleague, former colleague, who's definitely got some thoughts. He's more on the opposite side. He feels bullish on the advancement of AI and how it's going to be better for everybody. I'm a lot more reserved because I'll wait to see. I'm a wait and see kind of guy on that front. But yeah, it was a really good topic, Brad. Everyone brought up really good topics, honestly. And this is kind of not exactly a different format, but going on topics that I feel we can bounce off of each other may serve just as informational and entertaining as going on, top 5 lists or things you need to keep in mind. And hopefully everybody out there gleans something from it. I know I did. I always enjoy these conversations, as I do every night when I can participate. When I do on the live stream on Twitch, this is usually where the conversations happen. So it's not just in the podcast, not just in the videos, but on Twitch, live.pirillo.com will redirect you. These are the types of things that are typically talked about, and then some.
All the time.
Ad infinitum. All the time, every night. So you're missing nothing. Any other closing words before we wrap up? Okay, well, thank you, everybody, sorry, I wasn't going to wait.
I think Glendon's hungry. He's the one that brought a pizza. You know what I mean?
Too slow. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Glendon, Mike, Brad, for joining tonight. As always, I appreciate all the likes, the subscribes, the shares, everything that everybody does to make this possible. StreamYard, of course, is a sponsor of the live stream as well as these particular videos, the podcast in general. I love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices, and may the force be with you always.